And in other news, Basil Ludlow Pinky, minister for splashing it about like a damn strumpet, appeared embarrassed and ashamed at a Westminster courthouse earlier today, where he was taken to see if he could really hit a high C while juggling a dachshund, as he claims on his website whyilikeatighterpant.com. Dropping the dachshund after barely any time at all and not even registering a slightly dull and out-of-tune A, he slunk away, leaving by an unmarked back door and flanked by 3 men, all called Eric, dressed as Emma Thompson's mum, Phila Delore. The weather for the next week will be mild and floppy, with definite hints of a morose, congested uncle and no doubt quite a few moments of unpleasant dripping. I'm talking about rain. And now on Radio Flange Goblet, we have several large emus and...
Sorry, me old spatula coming through.
What on earth are you doing? I'm trying to do some announcements here.
Well, we've got to come through here with this stuff. Sorry, God, there's not much time.
What is that, anyway?
Well, this crate here is 48 gallons of blancmange, and then there's several boxes of naughty, novelty, wobbly bits, an entire vat of amusing hats.
Wait, go back to the first one. 48 gallons of blancmange? Who in the name of all that's glorious and flatulent needs 48 gallons of blancmange?
Well, this invoice says the Arthur Minky dinner.
Ah, you mean the after-movie diner.
Definitely says Minky here.
Never mind all that. Take it back. We don't need any of this ridiculous crap in the studio. Wheel it out of here.
Oh, I couldn't do that, sir. I do have my orders. We just deliver it. We don't take it away again. You've got to call the taker-awayers for that.
Well, how much more of it is there?
Well, we've got some envelopes full of Judi Dench's loose face skin, some jars of baby puffins, some Tupperware full of chocolate lobes, a shelving unit full of pictures of Lech Wałęsa, and a tank of miniature wang pins.
I know I'm going to regret asking this, but what are miniature wang pins?
I'd rather not say.
Well, will you wait here a moment?
Yes, sir, but I must warn you, we charge by the pound, the length, the hour, and the word.
The word?
Oh, yes, sir. I earn £4.35 for every ridiculous word I utter to you.
Christ, it's going to end up costing Radio Flange Goblet a fortune. For years, the after-movie diner has been a bloody liberty. We can't let it continue. I'll be back.
What he doesn't know is it's really me, Jeremy Beadle's cousin Alan, here to introduce you to the After-Movie Diner's 200th episode.
Oh, really? Oh, you're kidding? Am I on the telly, really? Oh, and here's me without any trousers on and partially glazed and sick.
I was going to say something, but I thought better of it.
So, all that stuff you said you were delivering, that isn't real?
No, actually, all of that was completely real. You can bring it all in, Eustace. Oh, don't move it there. I wouldn't put it there. Oh, now, hold that. A minute. Oh. Pick it up, Eustace. What are you doing? Oh, don't put it there.
Sorry about this. Oh, bollocks. Hello, diners and dinerettes, and yes, it's the 200th episode. I would put a lot more sound effects and everything like that, but I'm running out of time, energy, and patience with you people. Anyway, yes, it's our 200th episode, and joyfully, jubilant and wonderful we all are too. None of that makes any sense. And what a jam-packed episode we've got for you. We've had a lot of people contribute to this episode, and you can hear all their contributions later on in the show. But first up, because it's good to, well, you know what they say, it's good to pack your front end with as many goodies as you can possibly. Now, steady on, you people in Lowestoft. I know what you're thinking. Filthy, get your mind out of the gutter. When I say pack your front end, I'm talking, of course, about put all your good stuff first, and then put all the plebs and people that nobody knows about at the end. And that's what we're doing. We're starting this show off with a bang. Again, if everybody in Lowestoft could, and also parts of East Sheen, just get their minds out of the gutter. When I say start the show off with a bang, I mean a party, a celebration, an explosion, a jolly good time. And that is, why don't we hear from some celebrity? Because everyone loves celebrities. Everyone does. Everyone loves celebrities, except people who don't. And those people we don't care about. So, yes, let's, as I said before, pack our front end tightly with some celebrities, shall we? And read out just what some famous people and some semi-famous people and some people have said about the after-movie diner turning 200. Jolly good, right? Hang on a second. What I like is that we've got to the 200th episode, and you can tell just how polished and professional and not entirely off the top of my head all this is. Here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. There's something in his big brown sack. I wonder what could it be. Well, I hope the bills it lacks and instead brings me some listener feedback, or maybe, just maybe, a big bag of crack. Oh, here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. Ah, the mailbag jingle. Like an old friend engulfing us in a smelly hug. It's back. So first up is none other than Clint Howard. Yes, the always charming, wonderful, and downright bizarre but brilliant Clint Howard had this to say. I can't believe... And this is actually Clint Howard. He did actually say this. I mean, I could be making it up, but I'm looking at it right here, and Clint Howard said it. He said this. I can't believe I was your Christmas podcast and they still let you own a microphone. That said, congratulations on your 200th. Maybe next year you can have me for your Administrative Professionals Day. It gets pretty festive around the water cooler. And that's actually what Clint Howard said, and it's, I think, a little slice of genius. Thank you ever so much, most sincerely, Mr. Clint Howard. That's Ron Howard's brother and star of over 1 million movies and TV shows, Clint Howard, for writing in on this 200th episode. That's incredible. It's genuinely incredible. I know we're being very silly up front, but no, genuinely incredible, Clint Howard, wishing this tiny, minuscule, and unimportant podcast a happy 200th birthday, anniversary, whatever you call it. So wonderful. Thanks ever so much, Clint. So next up is Brooke Lewis. She was a guest on episode 139. That was 2 Horror-tobers ago. And she is tremendous. Where do you start with all the accomplishments that Brooke Lewis has done? She's a writer, an actor, a host, personality. She does love advice and a self-help guru and Ms. Vampy and all kinds of stuff. Brooke Lewis is just amazing. And if you don't know who Brooke Lewis is, check her out. You can find her out on IMDb. You can look up brookelewis.com. You can look up phillychickpictures.com. And you can look her up at msvampy.net. So please check Brooke Lewis out. She's awesome, tremendous, great guest as well. Go back and listen to her interview. However, she says, I am thrilled to send my love and congratulations to John and After Movie Diner for the celebration of their 200th episode. I understand the challenges of keeping a hit show on air. I'm not sure this is a hit show, but thanks ever so much, Brooke. A hit show on air for this long, and I am so proud to have been a part of making After Movie Diner history. I have been fortunate to have been invited to many shows throughout my career, but After Movie Diner is one that surely stands out. John is a skilled professional, well, steady on, who does his due diligence with each guest and has the ability and knowledge to dive deep into movie conversation no matter which genre. Our wonderful interview was sophisticated, exceptional, and left a fantastic and horrific impression years later. Cheers to John and After Movie Diner, and wishes for another 2,000 episodes. Love and success, Brooke Lewis, also known as Miss Vampy. Well, I am blushing like crazy. That's ridiculous. Half of that stuff isn't true at all, but very, very, very sweet for Brooke to say, thanks ever so much, Brooke. You kick ass. So it wouldn't be an After Movie Diner episode if I didn't say, what up, my Baltimore peeps, and have a quote or message or something from those wonderful people what live down in Baltimore. And next up is actor, writer, photographer, musician. She's all this and more. It's the wonderful and delightful and splendid and lovely Leanna Chamish. And she sent us an audio message so you can stop listening to my stupid voice and start listening to her brilliant one.
Hey, John, this is Leanna Chamish from Baltimore Dollarland. Congratulations on reaching your 200th podcast. I absolutely adore you and the After Movie Diner.
And continuing with the fantastic Baltimore theme, it is graphic designer, actor, writer, host, website manager of Smash or Trash IndieFilmmaking.com. Check it out, it's awesome. Robert Long.
Hello, John and the After Movie Diner. This is Robert Long from Baltimore, and all of us down here want to wish you and the After Movie Diner a happy 200th episode, and thank you for all the entertainment. Keep at it. We'll be tuning in. Thanks so much.
Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you should have been because you probably read the description of the episode or at least saw the title of the episode or something. But our interview, our special 200th episode interview, timed precisely to collide with this week's release of Phantasm Ravager, is none other than A. Michael Baldwin. Star of Phantasm, Phantasm 3, Phantasm 4, Phantasm Ravager, director, writer, all sorts of musician. We get into all of it in the interview. It's tremendous. But what better way to slide on down into the interview? And again, please, can people in Cleethorpes and various outerlying areas of Dunstan-on-the-Naze please get your mind out of the gutter? When I say slide on down into the interview, I mean it purely in a metaphorical and not a dirty, filthy sense. But what better way to do that, what better way to introduce the interview, let's say, than with our last celebrity quote of the day about the 200th episode from none other than Reggie and his wife Gigi Bannister from Phantasm. Yeah. And Reggie appeared on episode 123 of the After Movie Diner, where we had a fantastic conversation, and I followed it up by reviewing all 4 Phantasm films with none other than the incredible Jamie Jenkins. And if you don't know Jamie Jenkins and you listen to podcasts, you're listening to all the wrong podcasts, because hers are some of the best. Check them out. Anyway, check out episode 123 of the After Movie Diner for more Phantasm and Reggie brilliance. But I reached out to Reggie and Gigi, and they, because they're just the loveliest people ever, had this to say. John, congratulations on your 200th After Movie Diner episode, dude. You guys are the bomb. Keep your balls in the air and your pockets full of shells. Let the fun fly fast and furious, and don't let that guy melt all over the ice cream. Hope your episode is hot as love. See you at the movies. Be sure to watch Phantasm 5 Ravager out on October 7th. And listen, I am more than happy to plug Phantasm 5, because if you're not pants-moistingly excited about that film, then you're not a real fan with a PH. And so, without further ado, it's A. Michael Baldwin. So quickly, just to put this interview in some kind of context, it was actually recorded a little over a year ago, but don't worry, we cover everything. We cover all the Phantasms, what Michael's been doing, his music, everything. I mean, don't worry, it's not out of date or anything. I had to chop a couple of bits out, but apart from that, it is solid, so please don't go anywhere. But just to put it into context, it was recorded about a year ago, over a year ago maybe, and we've had a hell of a time trying to get it back in audio form so that I can put it on the show. Basically, it was on a computer that broke down that I then had to send out and get fixed and spend money on. And anyway, it's finally here. It's finally awesome. It's the best it can possibly be. And trust me, we cover everything you'd want to cover in an interview with this fascinating, awesome, and intelligent individual. So here we are, Michael Baldwin on the phone with me right now.
Hello.
Hey, Michael. John here.
Hey, John.
So where are you at the moment? Are you at a convention or something?
Yes, I am. I arrived this afternoon. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky.
Nice.
At I think it's called Scare Fest.
Okay, cool.
And I just came from dinner with two of my oldest friends, Don Coscarelli and Bill Thornbury.
Wow.
And we had just a terrific, hilarious, funny evening together.
Yeah.
And we broke bread and had a great time. And that's definitely one of the best things about doing these shows is getting to hang out with my buddies that I've known for so many years.
Yeah, I was going to ask, actually, because I know that you've all certainly, obviously, in the lead up to Ravager, but just in general, the whole Phantasm gang have been doing the rounds. And obviously, I couldn't make it, but my friend Gary was the one who got Reggie and Bill's autograph on the ukulele. And then when I knew you were going to be at Horror Realm, I thought I'd add to it.
Buddy, I got a lot of mileage off that ukulele footage. I got to tell you, a lot of mileage.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, when I handed it to you, I didn't know that you could play, so it was a joy for you to be able to like pick it up and play it, because it means now that Reggie's played it, Bill's played it, and you've played it.
The funny thing is that, people generally don't know that I'm a musician,
right?
And that's, I don't play out, and I don't. When offered the opportunity to play in front of people, I usually demurely decline, and for whatever reason. But so it's I got a lot of mileage off that little ukulele clip. People are just like, "What?
Yes,
Baldwin can play that thing? Amazing!"
Well, it surprised me in person, sir, and it's funny because I had Reggie on my show. I don't know when it was. It was just after Ravager had been announced. So whenever that was, about a year ago, I guess, about 10 months ago. And I had Reggie on the show, and we had a wonderful conversation about all sorts of things. And I had said to him about, Bill plays and he plays, and had they ever thought of doing anything at a convention in terms of music? And Reggie was sort of like, well, we might. And then, funnily enough, like the next big reunion you had was also the same night they did that big cabaret show. And Reggie and Bill played, and Angus Scrim got up and did a spoken word thing, and but you didn't want to join in at that event. You didn't want to finally release the inner rock star inside yourself.
Here's the thing. I've done it a lot already in my life. I've performed in front of people my whole life, and I don't have that desire, that burning desire to do it. Especially when, with regard to music is different. If you're not, at least in my opinion, if you're not practicing every day, and if you're not really up on your chops, if you don't have your numbers down, cold, perfect, then I'm not interested in getting up there and making a mistake.
Sure.
I just am not. And so I usually just decline because I don't feel a great need to do it. I know for a fact what I can do. I know I know I can win that audience over no problem, but I don't have a great need to do so. And so it's much, much easier and more relaxed for me to not. And so I usually say no thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually, funny enough, I feel very similar. I'm a musician. I write and record a lot of songs and play lots of different instruments. But I think you're right. I think if you're going to get up on stage, you have to have a certain set or certain preparation, or have your songs ready to go. And I've never
and that's why you're exactly right. And that's why, if I really had to and I was pressed, I could actually get up and I'd have for sure one number on the guitar that I could do that would bring the house down and would blow them all away. But that doesn't rise to what my standards are for myself. Course. So I don't do it.
Yeah, no, I rarely, if ever, perform live. I prefer to write songs. That's why I play instruments, is to write songs rather than to perform necessarily. So I do feel you. If we go back then, sir, to the 70s, when you first started acting, your first role was obviously in Kenny and Company with Don directing.
That's not true. My first role was in an educational film called A Sense of Hearing.
Okay.
And this was a film that my dad was directing, and or he was directing maybe he directed the animated portion of the show. Back in those days, as you might recall, or maybe I'm not sure how it was in England. You're from Britain, right?
I'm from England originally. I've only lived in the States the last 9 years. Yeah.
So in the United States, when I was a kid in elementary school, usually one day a week you would see an educational film. It would be a 16-millimeter film, and it would be on who knows whatever topic. And my dad was an animator and an animation director, and he was working on this film, and I think that he may have been the animator and the director of the animated portion of this film called A Sense of Hearing. There was a live-action portion of the show, and I was in that. And that was my first thing. And so it was a little boy, while I was probably 7 years old, when we shot it in Griffith Park in L.A., and
nice.
I was a little boy in a yellow rain slicker walking through what looked to be a forest. And he's walking and he's looking and he's observing, and eventually the camera sort of focuses in on what he's hearing and goes closer and closer to his ear and goes closer and closer to his ear, and then eventually it turns into animation. You go inside his ear, and it's now an educational movie about the ear and how the ear works and how sound works in the brain, etc.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And so
I haven't seen it forever. I don't know if it exists anywhere or where it might be. I don't believe it's even on YouTube.
Right.
But it's called, for your listening viewers, it's called A Sense of Hearing.
Okay, so if anyone out there, any plucky person tracks that down.
Right. If any plucky person, any plucky researchers out there want to try to find this film, I think the director of the film was a guy named Dan Weisberg.
Okay.
So I'm trying to give all the information for the plucky researchers.
Of course, and maybe someone out in, in the California school system in the 70s saw the movie. We'd love to hear.
Must have. Somebody must have seen it because, as I recall, it's a pretty cool film. It's a nice little movie.
So it never got played back to you in your class. Then you weren't teased by the other kids.
I think that happened one time,
right.
John. I think that, I think that it happened one time, and the movie played to my school probably the next year. And I was probably in the fifth grade or fourth or fifth grade, and it played to the whole school. They brought everybody in to show, and here's our hometown boys in the movie.
Yeah,
something simple like that.
No, it was always odd because I did a lot of acting on stage when I was in school, both junior and high school, and it was very odd. You would get teased for being an actor all through the year, and then when you put on the play to the whole school, as long as you did a good job, you were like a hero. It was like you were a sports star, but it was only that one night. The rest of the year, you were teased for being artistic, but the one time that you actually did the performance, everyone thought it...
Well, life... It's sometimes not fair.
Especially if you get a laugh, right? If you get a laugh, that's when it really hits home for the rest of your...
If you get a laugh, then you're king.
So, when did that spur on your sort of desire to be in front of the camera? Was it something that you were pushing, or was it something your parents wanted you to do? How did auditioning or coming up for Kenny and Company happen?
That's a fair question, and it's an important question because there is a entrenched tradition, of this what we call the stage mom, stage mother persona in America, anyway. And it's the mother and maybe the father, but usually the mother who drives her unhappy child to be an actor or to be a superstar or whatever, with disastrous results, usually psychological in nature. That was not my case, thank God. I was not the baby Irene. I had done these little movies for my dad, and I just enjoyed myself thoroughly. And so by the time I was 9 years old, I had done a bunch of voiceovers for cartoons that my dad was making, and I had done that other film that I mentioned before. And I just told my parents one day, you know what, I want to do this as a profession. I want to be a professional actor, and I want to take class, and I want to have an agent, and I want to pursue it in a real way. And, you know, my parents were in the business, and so it wasn't that big of a stretch. I lived in Los Angeles. My dad was in the business, and one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I had a little audition with an agency in Hollywood, and then I had an agent, and then I started booking jobs, and that's it. And then my agent, Tony Kalman, sent me on a cattle call for a little know-nothing independent movie, and that was Kenny & Company, and I met Don Coscarelli and Paul Pepperman on that audition and got the job, and, you know, the rest is very minor history.
Well, for us fans, sir, it's very important. It's very
well. I appreciate that.
No, it's people like, you know. I mean, obviously, Phantasm is a series, and Don, yourself, Reggie, and so on. You have an ardent fan base, and a lot may already know this story, but a lot may not, and that's why I like to present as a sort of full and interesting picture. Plus, I'm as fascinated, you know, I mean, we'll talk about stories from the sets of the Phantasm films and so on, but I'm as fascinated as sort of where you're coming from and where you were at that time and how it all happened as I am about, you know, what it was like shooting the shit with Reggie on Phantasm 3 and fighting zombies or whatever. So,
right.
You know, it's all interesting. Someone's journey is what excites me. So you do Kenny & Company with Don Coscarelli, and then there's about 2-3 years between that and Phantasm coming around, and you do some TV work.
Yeah, but I think maybe 2 years at the most.
Okay.
I think maximum, a couple of years. I think I shot Kenny & Company when I was 11, and then started Phantasm at 13. So, you know, not too much time. Although when you're that age, it seems like a decade has gone by. So,
yeah, of course. And
you know, and then did TV in between, right?
And does Don have you in mind for Phantasm, and he just comes to you, or did you still have to sort
Correct.
of...
He writes Phantasm for me.
Okay,
Correct.
excellent. And, you know, when I was talking to Reggie, you know, one of the
Which
things...
is very lucky. I mean, that's just like, that doesn't happen, really. You know, like, directors don't write parts for a specific actor.
No.
They do, maybe, but it's 1978, for crying out loud. It really doesn't happen very often. So it's a lucky break, you might say.
Yeah,
I think
indeed.
that's the philosophy of life. It's either a lucky break or it's a fantastic creation.
I think it's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right?
No, it's not. Because whether it's a lucky break or whether it's a fantastic creation is the difference between life and death. I mean, that's the whole different philosophies. That's Republicans and Democrats right there, almost.
I suppose so. Yeah. If you break it down,
I will let your podcast listeners
decide,
figure that one out for themselves.
Indeed. No, but I think that anyone, and again, this is not just a compliment for compliment's sake, but I think anyone watching your performance in Phantasm realizes why Don would write specifically for you. It's an incredibly mature and assured performance for a child actor, and there's certainly, you know, you can certainly see Don's reasoning for saying, you know, this kid's good, let's put him in this, and let's knowing that you can carry the movie, because you really have to some degree in that first movie. And so you know, that's not just false complimenting. You give a fantastic performance in that first film. So what do you...
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no,
appreciate it very much.
Genuinely. And so what do you remember then about the initial idea of Phantasm when Don first comes to you with it, and then sort of putting it on its feet and doing this performance?
Well, the first thing that happened for me was that my mom told me one day, oh, by the way, you're going to do a movie with Don again. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, we've been talking to these guys for 6 months, and we didn't want to tell you about it because we've been negotiating, your agent and us, we've been negotiating with them, and it's all done. It's a signed deal, and you're doing the movie. And so they had been talking about it for a long time, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because obviously they knew that if I got involved, I would just be like, I'll do it for free.
Yeah, of course.
And so the adults were involved and kept the kid out of it, and that was it. And then I don't think it was very many weeks after that I started shooting. That was it. Happened very quickly for me.
And at the time at home, what was, because obviously, again, like I said, it's an assured and an adult performance for someone of the age that you were. What is it like at home when you're growing up? What are the things that are discussed? Is it a very kind of open family where you're talking about all sorts of things? Do you feel very involved in adult conversations and adult scenarios, so that when you get on a film set, it's not too big a deal, you know?
Buddy, let me just say this first of all, John. That is the most insightfully asked question that I've ever been asked in this kind of interview.
Oh, wow. Thank you, sir.
I've very rarely been asked a question that had that much insight behind it. So I want to just let you know that I appreciate that very much. Mostly, I do these kinds of interviews with people, and, by the question number 3, it's how come you weren't in Phantasm 2?
Right.
So I really just appreciate that question. The answer is, wow, fucking great question. The answer is, a lot was going on at that time. My parents were in the middle of a heated and horrible divorce.
Oh, wow, okay.
And my father was just almost moving out of the house. He was living in our house, but not in my parents' bedroom. So it was this completely tense and horrible experience where my mother slept in my parents' bedroom. My father slept on the couch. And my father would come home pretty drunk every night and try to bond with his son and explain what was going on. And I can just remember so many awful evenings of not knowing what to say or think. I can remember my parents looking at me imploringly, like, say something.
Yeah.
This is going on. Why don't you have an opinion? At least your sister screams and yells and cries, but you don't say anything. And I can remember looking at the worry in their eyes and thinking, well, what the hell do they want me to say? What am I supposed to say? What do they want me to say? So that was exactly what was going on at that time. Wow.
So you bring that emotion to the performance then, almost.
Well, I really don't know. For me, shooting Phantasm was an escape.
Right.
Because I was out of the house for days and days and days at a time, not having to deal with whatever the real reality was, the reality of the tension in the house. So for me, it was an out, I'm sure I didn't look at it that way then, but of course now it's very obvious.
With hindsight, yeah, of course. And so it was less that you were sort of in some sort of, liberal kind of artistic family that were opening you up to all this sort of stuff.
Well, no, it was that also. Remember, my parents were both artists.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up in a family of artists. Everybody in my family is a painter, or a singer, or an artist, or a tapestry weaver, or a bookmaker, or, everybody, every single person. Everybody's in the arts. That's the family that I am born into. My cousin, my uncle wrote the very first Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Oh, wow. Okay, fair enough.
My other uncle was an animator on the very earliest Felix the Cat cartoons.
Oh, right. Excellent.
My cousin, Georgie Kanata, is a very well-respected, he's now deceased, but a very well-respected fine artist, a painter.
Yeah.
My father, obviously, is a Emmy Award-winning producer of animation. My mother is a world-renowned publisher of miniature books. My sister is a world-class vocalist and has been teaching voice for 30 years. My children, I mean, it just goes on and on. It's like, so yeah, I was absolutely in that environment. Have you seen the Ang Lee movie called The Ice Storm?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's one of my favorites of his, actually.
Starring Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
That's my childhood, that movie.
Oh, wow, okay. No, all right, that's putting a picture on it. Yeah, I can.
That's it. That is fucking exactly it. Even the way their house looked, I grew up in a house that looked exactly like that.
Oh, wow, okay.
No, I didn't grow up on the East Coast or wherever that house was where they had an ice storm. I grew up in L.A.
Yeah.
There was no ice storms there. But there was an ice storm at my house, and my mother was the star of it. My mom is exactly like Sigourney Weaver in that movie. That's my mom.
Wow, okay. So it was both...
And my dad is exactly... I mean, it sounds really stupid to say it. It sounds like that's bullshit. But no, my dad is like Kevin Kline. That's what he's like. He's just like the gregarious, befuddled guy. You know what I mean? And that whole thing about parties and the wife swapping and the artsy crowd, I mean, that was my house. That's it.
Okay. So it was that you had no choice. Because the reason why I'm asking the question, the reason why I'm trying to picture this is I was in a very similar situation, and I had no choice but at a certain point to grow up, whether I liked it or not, to like deal with the adults around me, because sometimes they were being more childish than I was. And and I wondered if it was similar for yourself. And it sounds like it was definitely similar, but also you had all the I guess, open-mindedness and communication that comes with artistic people, but also all the psychology that comes with artistic people. It sounds like you had it all.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. There is a certain openness. But there's also alcoholism.
Yeah, of course. There's
a
substances.
certain loving openness, and there is a certain openness to things that are artistic and art and films and music, and those things are all in the house robustly. But there's also an awful lot of drinking going on.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of adults that are very myopic and are extremely selfish and are like artists who are any good, are really just only paying attention to themselves.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of sometimes what you have to do in order to create. You have to kind of shut everything.
It's a weird deal.
Because you have to go out into the world, observe it and absorb it, and then you have to go away from the world, tell the world to piss off, and then you have to create. It's difficult to do. It's difficult to take in the world and be sociable and everything else, and create at the same time. That's a juggling act. I think very few of us.
Oh, and maybe raise a couple of children at the same time too. Yeah,
right, exactly. Have a family or a husband or wife.
But it's also fair to say that it was the 60s and the 70s and a completely different time, and
right.
Things are different.
So do you then, when you're on the set of Phantasm and you've got obviously Reggie, who seems to be a very sort of up person and embracing person, and Bill and Don and people, are you forming a family or a camaraderie there with those guys, or is it just purely acting? Is it just purely a professional set?
No, we definitely formed a camaraderie, a family that has lasted this whole time. And, the Don and Paul were a filmmaking team, and we often leave Paul Pepperman out of the conversation because people don't his name is on the credits, and he was there every single day, but people don't realize really how important he was in it. And so I used to go to Long Beach, where Don and Paul Pepperman were living at Don's mom's house as they prepared to make the movie. And I would go and spend the weekend there with those guys, and we would just all hang around together like pals. And they were just out of college, and I was like, 12, 13-year-old wise-ass kid. Like, I was like their mascot for a while, and we all became friends and making the movie and that whole thing. And then Bill Thornbury came on the scene, and I can remember auditioning Bill and telling Don at the end of the day, well, that's your guy. He's the one.
Yeah. So Don had you in the room. He had so much confidence in you. He had you in the room with the auditions, and so that you guys.
I auditioned with a couple different guys who were the final candidates, and then did some scenes with Bill at Don's mom's house in the backyard or whatever, and worked for a half a day or a day with him, and then told them who my preference was, and I can't say that I had the final say at all, but
right.
Certainly, if the 13-year-old kid says I like that guy, and you're probably gonna listen to him.
Well, if you've got to be comfortable with him, you know what I mean. You're so entwined in the movie, and it's so important you have that familial attitude together. That it's definitely insightful of Don to be able to have you there and say, we've got to see who Michael bonds with. When you're making Phantasm, the scary elements, the scenes where obviously you've got to go through some kind of trauma or be scared or be chased or whatever, how are they handled on set? Do you remember them vividly, or was it no problem for you?
I don't remember it ever being a problem at all. It's just pretend,
right?
After all, I mean, that's all that it is. You're just pretending, and I do know that I did have a little bit of trouble screaming, and I can recall there were a couple of occasions where I had to just scream.
Right.
And I remember finding that pretty difficult. And I used to like to try. I used to have a little code with Dawn and Paul Pepperman, where I knew this scene was coming up, and I would say, okay, if I say this word, then you guys got to clear the set. As if I was almost doing a topless scene or something,
Right.
I mean, it was like, but it would always inevitably would be some situation where I would have to scream, and I felt very uncomfortable doing it, and so I can even remember them telling my dad about it, and my dad having this conversation with me about this whole situation. Very funny.
So it was almost the extreme emotions then that both at home and on a film set were kind of the hardest to pull out of you almost.
Oh my God! If you got a psychology degree in your back pocket,
not at all. I'm just going where the conversation.
Have a Bachelor of Fine Arts of Psychology.
No, I took a film video.
John, maybe that's the case. I like that. That's a good angle. I'll go with that one. Sure.
Sure, you can tell people that from now on. So, do you remember the film being released? Then, do you remember? Was there a premiere? Do you remember feeling that, what that was like, and seeing yourself on the big screen for the first time?
The first time I saw the film on the big screen would have been at a premiere in Westwood. Westwood is the town surrounding UCLA.
Right.
In Los Angeles, and it is, there's a little village, Westwood Village, and it's all kinds of movie theaters and stuff. And so I went to see the film with my friend, and by then I was 16. I think I drove myself to it by the time it came out. And I'm not sure if that's true, but anyway, I saw it with a big audience, a packed house. It must have been a 600 or 700 seat theater, a big theater. And I can recall being really surprised that people were laughing. There were laughs, and people were laughing at stuff. And I remember thinking, why are they laughing? This is a serious drama.
Yeah.
I thought we were making Hamlet.
Right.
But it turns out there was all these jokes in it that I did not get. And I didn't understand it at all.
Sure.
So that was the thing that I remember kind of being. I can remember looking around at people laughing, wanting to say, don't laugh, this is drama. So that's my memory mostly of our big premiere in Westwood.
But, I mean, of course, as well, when people watch horror movies, there's also that laughter as if to go, oh, I'm not scared. You know what I mean? There's that kind of laughter as well where people are trying
It may have been that. I don't know. I just know that people were laughing, and I was possibly a little bit insulted.
And as well, you might be, yeah, of course. And looking back at the film now, did you have any favorite moments then, either in the shooting or in the watching of it back then? And are there bits now that you think really hold up, that you can pinpoint, that you're really proud of?
Well, there's a scene which people refer to as the shotgun hammer scene. And it's a silent scene. There's no dialogue in it at all, and it's where Mike gets locked into his bedroom by his brother. And the scene plays out as one shot. There's no cutaways at all, or very few in any case. And Mike is in the room. He's very pissed off, and he can't escape. And his brother is going off into mortal danger, and he knows he needs to go help him, but he can't. His brother just locked him in. He jammed a screwdriver into the door jamb, in some way. And so there's a whole scene that plays out for quite a long time. It's pretty nice, nicely directed. It really is. And Coscarelli really lets the young actor play the scene.
Yeah.
And at his own pace. And he just goes and he does it. It's pretty nice. I mean, to speak of myself in the third person, but it's a good scene. I really like it. You really see the thought process in the kid as he figures out with the available materials how to escape the bedroom.
Yeah. And, I mean, you have to. When I watch myself or listen to myself, sometimes I detach as if I'm watching or listening to someone else. So that way you can kind of be a little critical of yourself. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to watch and listen to yourself if you don't detach.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's true, of course.
And see yourself a bit like that. And so that, how many times do you reckon, do you watch the film sort of frequently? Do you have to because you're at these conventions and things? Or do you rarely, if ever, put it on?
I rarely, if ever, put it on. In fact, the last time I saw the movie was about a year ago, and it was because my kids finally were all clamoring, let's watch Phantasm. We've never seen Phantasm, and nobody had ever seen it. And finally, everybody was old enough to watch the movie. And
what was that like?
Oh, it's hilarious. It was absolutely fun.
Yeah?
It was surreal. It was a blast. I mean, I my youngest daughter was, I guess at that time, 8 years old. And my son is 10.
Yeah.
This is a year ago, so I'm kind of dialing back everybody a year. And then my daughter would have been 14, and my son 15. And nobody had ever seen Phantasm. So it was a super fun, finally we're going to watch this movie kind of deal.
Yeah.
And, kids, my children, make fun of my B-movie career relentlessly. There's nothing funnier to them than Phantasm.
Okay.
Phantasm cracks them up. No, I mean, like my daughter tells me that, Dad, you're the most famous person at my junior high school.
And all the kids are now watching your movies and seeing the Phantasm shows and things.
Apparently so. I don't know. It's very funny. She says, Dad, you're more popular than me at my junior high.
Nice. Well, that's what you want from your kids. You want them to have a more successful.
Exactly right. I get a little feeling of satisfaction. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and did you then lead them on and show them Phantasm 3 and 4 as well? Have they seen the whole series now?
Thank you for skipping over. I haven't done that yet. I guess Phantasm 3 is coming up because obviously they got to get everybody to watch all these movies before Ravager comes out.
Of course, it's been incredible to watch Don Coscarelli being one of the very few directors. I can't really think of many others who have remained. Certainly, since I know he did a couple of studio movies, but since then has remained completely autonomous and completely independent, and just being able to release things as and when and make things as and when. And every time he does, and every time he releases something out of the gate, it's different, it's interesting, it's amazing. John Dies at the End was just phenomenal, loved it. All the Phantasms, everything.
I agree.
So, yeah.
I agree. I can remember a conversation I had with Don a couple years ago. He was at my studio in Austin, and he was in for something, and he was, John Dies at the End was not released yet. He was just getting the deal going with that distribution company, and I had seen the film. I think he was in town. I had seen it the previous evening at a screening, and I was so impressed by the movie. It was so funny. I laughed my ass off. It was so fully entertaining. I was just so completely entertained by the film. I remember the next day we had lunch together, and, you know, he was a little bit down in the dumps, and he was just kind of like talk about artists, you know, he was just like, you know, it's so hard, there's just no money in independent filmmaking, and what am I going to do? And I made this movie, and oh my God, people seem to like it, but now I have to scratch for a deal, and I got people who I want to make a deal, but I got to get the right deal. And, you know, I had this little pep talk with him, you know, that was just like, look, buddy, what are you talking about? Who are the leading genre directors that everybody always talks about who are so goddamn great, like John Carpenter and, may he rest in peace, Wes Craven, and, you know, on down the list of the horror directors, right?
Yeah.
And how many of those guys are making new, fresh material like what you just have done?
Right.
And the answer is zero. None. Nobody makes anything like John Dies at the End.
Oh, yeah, nobody makes anything like that.
Forget, and that's just even wiping off the slate Bubba Hotep, which is also a fan favorite. You know, my point was that I think those directors, George Romero, all these guys, these older guys, you know, and I think that they kind of look down on you a little bit. I think they sort of are jealous of you, actually. You're like the annoying cousin that came along and made Phantasm, and
right.
And now it's all these years later, but you're still making these movies. You're actually still able to raise the money and make these films. And John Dies at the End it's not even a horror movie. It's a I don't know what that film is. It is a truly independent, creative, imaginative piece of filmmaking that you just cannot ignore that movie. You cannot.
And it must be really frustrating because, I mean, I've seen him talk a couple of times, and every movie he's done, I mean, especially Bubba Hotep, John Dies at the End, and, of course, the never-ending question about the fifth Phantasm until, of course, we found out we were getting one. But he was asked about sequels to those movies every time. When we getting a fifth Phantasm? When are we getting a second Bubba Hotep? When are you doing This Book is Full of Spiders, the John Dies at the End sequel? And the reason why people are doing that is because they love the movies. They see the movies and they're like, my God, we don't see enough of this. When are we getting more? We need more of whatever this is. They can't put their finger on what it is. They just know it's Coscarelli. They know it's great. They know they want more of it. And that's what happens when you see something that's different, original, vibrant. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot. It's not something you've seen before. You want more of it. Like you just want to consume more of it. And so that's why people get excited about the sequels. It's not just because we want to see the same old people trot out the same old stuff. We're excited because we want more of whatever that Coscarelli magic is, you know? And in fact, I compare him far more to someone like a Terry Gilliam than I do someone like a John Carpenter, although he's probably 50% of one and 50% of the other, you know? He's got the horror sensibility and the skills of someone like a Carpenter, but he's got that surreal, there's no one else like him kind of thing of a Terry Gilliam. So, you know, he feeds into both my loves because that's my wheelhouse completely.
I like that. I like that comparison a lot. I'm going to start using that from now on. Of course, I love Terry so much, and I'm just a gigantic fan of his. And I think you're right. I think that he's much more like Terry than those other guys. And also, all you got to do is look at those other sequels that those guys made, and they're not very good.
Right.
They're not.
And, you know, Terry Gilliam, another incredible visionary, what's his biggest problem? Getting financing and getting distribution. You know what I mean? There's umpteen million people want to work with him. He's got 100 unproduced scripts that he could do at a moment's notice. No one's throwing him the money and no one's distributing his movies. And you just think to yourself, Terry Gilliam or Don Coscarelli, whoever it is, at some point in the future will no longer either be able to make movies or will no longer be around. And studios won't have the Don Coscarelli set or the Terry Gilliam set. Like Warner Brothers had that Kubrick thing where they supported Kubrick no matter what he did, whatever crap he wanted to go off and do. Warner Brothers was like, we will support him just because 100 years from now we'll have the Kubrick set. Well, 100 years from now, we're going to want the Don Coscarelli set. 100 years from now, we're going to want the Terry Gilliam set, you know? And it's the people aren't putting money into it and people aren't putting distribution into it is just a bit crazy. I've got a bit passionate and gone off on the rails about this, but anyway, it's fine. So you've talked about Phantasm 2, and everyone's talked about Phantasm 2 till the ends of the earth. We all know the situation with that, so we don't need to go over there. I am interested, though, between Phantasm and Phantasm 3, what it is you're doing, what you pursue, what artistic avenues you go down.
God, during that period, I traveled. Mostly I traveled the world, and I lived in different cities, and I wrote a lot, and I eventually, got married and had a couple of children and lived a regular life, really.
Yeah. And when Don mentions Phantasm 3 and is putting the band back together, as it were, what were your initial feelings?
I think, trepidation, the number one, and I had been doing some stage work in LA up to that point, and I'd been doing a lot of musical theater, and I never left the business. I just was being a musician, and people don't probably realize what an extensive musical theater career I've had. But I just did shows all over the world, and I worked in LA all the time, and I just was on stage as a live performing actor, during that time. And so all of a sudden Don calls me and he's like, "Okay, we're going to do this thing," and I had to get over, the agony of Phantasm 2, and so it was kind of a question as to whether I was going to do it or not. And obviously, when someone says, "Here, you can do this if you want it, you don't have to audition," and thank God. And so of course, it also pays money, so he ended up taking the job.
And when you get on set and you're back with the cast and crew, do those feelings fall away? Does it become that camaraderie again, or does it take a while?
Well, I think it takes a little bit of time. I really do. Eventually, and by a little bit of time, I mean a very little bit of time. Of course, on set, there's no time for anything other than doing it right the first time. So yeah. You really can't. There's so much money going out every second. So you have to be able to show up and hit your marks and know your lines and do it right the first time. So years and years and years and years of training all come together, and you do what you need to do. Phantasm 3, kind of not my favorite movie. I really not that crazy about my performance in it. I think there's definitely stuff in that film that I'm not that crazy about. But a lot of people like the film. It's funny. It's got some humor in it, and it certainly has certain kind of production value that I appreciate.
Yeah, and it also seems to introduce a whole bunch of other elements to the sort of Phantasm world that weren't there before, and allows for a kind of rich, effects-heavy picture in some areas.
Yeah, absolutely, including the greatest car jump that I have ever seen anywhere in any movie.
Yes, exactly.
That would be, of course, Bob Ivy's pink hearse jump.
Yes, no, good old Bob Ivy showing up on these films and doing these incredible things. Of course, he does the full body burn at the end of Bubba Hotep, and does some.
I was there.
Things. So,
not for Bubba Hotep, the body burn in Oblivion.
Right, yeah, no, he's done a full body burn in a couple of films. I've seen the behind the scenes of Bubba Hotep. What was it like working with the effects, and how are you with sort of having to have things kind of put on you, and the orb and the yellow goo and all that kind of stuff? How are you acting with effects? Are you happy with that stuff, or is it cumbersome?
Lucky for me, I don't really have to. My character doesn't have to do that much stuff. Like Reggie is the guy that has to get yellow goo in his mouth, and Reggie is the guy that has to sort of get nailed with that crap. So I don't really have to deal with that stuff too much. In terms of spheres and stuff, that stuff is all, at least in the old days, was all very practical effects. Those are all just balls on monofilament, and
yeah.
So it's not too big of a deal.
I think the nice surprise, and I mean this as a compliment, was that, very often a child actor might be a great child actor, but might not grow up to be a great actor, and vice versa. Some people who are horrible when they're children turn out to be great adult actors.
Yeah.
I think that as good as you are in Phantasm, I think in Phantasm 3 and 4, you're displaying the same amount of sort of intensity and ability and craft and everything else. Like I think that you were both a great child actor and a great adult actor, and that's rare actually in the industry to have something like that. Did you feel after 3 and then after 4, as you became back in the fold, as it were, and you were much happier, I would hope, did you feel that people were then beginning to recognize that and see that about you? Were you always confident in your abilities because of your stage work?
No, I don't think I was particularly confident in those days. Especially during Phantasm 3, that was all very tricky water for me. I felt like I could show up and do my job competently, but, as I say, it's not my favorite movie. There's stuff in there that I would love to do over again. Let me just say before we go further, thank you for the compliment. I really, really appreciate it very much, very much. And like in terms of, by the time Oblivion came around, then yes. By the time Oblivion came around, I was very confident and very certain about what I wanted to do and what I did not want to do.
Yeah.
It's like what I learned from Phantasm 3 was, what I don't want to do.
Okay.
So by the time Phantasm 4 came around, I at least knew what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do and what I did want to do, and then luckily was able to, at least in my opinion, execute.
Yeah.
So whereas in Phantasm 3 I might have been a little bit more, I would have been a little bit less vocal about the direction that my character took. By the time we started discussing Phantasm Oblivion, I was, long before we were in pre-production, I was extremely vocal about here's what my character is going to do, and here is what he is not going to do.
Right.
I'm willing to do this and this and this, and I will not be doing any of this. And my main issue was about being a victim. I didn't want Mike to be a victim anymore. He could not be a victim any longer. He had to take control of his own destiny, and I just refused to be any kind of a victim. And that's my problem with Phantasm 3, is that Mike is just sort of being pushed around left and right, and he doesn't seem to be taking control.
Right, and that's an absolute fair assessment. At some point, if you look at sort of 1, 3, and 4 as your trilogy, at some point in all trilogies, the man, the hero or the leading protagonist has got to kind of stand up and own what has happened to them in the previous films. That happens to everyone from Ash in the Evil Dead to Ripley in the Aliens to whatever it is, to Jamie Lee Curtis in 1, 2, and 7 of Halloween. They all stand up by the third picture and are far more engaged with their own destiny.
Well, when you put it like that, then maybe I'll be a little softer on Phantasm 3 from now on, because maybe it was a transitional film.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it has to be.
When you're looking at it as a film on the screen, you're like,
because I always think of Phantasm.
To be a little bit less forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, because I always, I don't know why, but I always sort of see Phantasm 2 as like an alternative universe. It doesn't really, it doesn't feel like Phantasm unless you guys.
I hate that movie.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to talk about it.
I really listen. I got a standard thing that I say now about Phantasm 2, which I really enjoy. And it's that when people ask me about Phantasm 2, whatever they say, I just always direct them to YouTube, to the Siskel and Ebert review of Phantasm 2.
Yeah.
If you've never seen it, then I encourage your fans to go to Siskel and Ebert and watch the Phantasm 2 review, and that says everything that I ever wanted to say about that movie.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's completely
I'll leave it
fine.
right there. I'll leave it at that.
So by the time you get to 4, of course, the interesting thing, certainly for the fans about 4, above everything else, is the blending of footage we hadn't seen before from the first one,
and then the new footage. Were you kind of, how privy were you to the old footage that was going to be used, and how much did that then inform what you were doing in the film?
Well, I produced Phantasm Oblivion, so I knew early on what we were going to do.
Right.
Part of the reason was just a monetary issue. It was just like, wow, if you can fill up 7 or 8 minutes of your movie, of screen time, with footage that you don't have to shoot, well, you're saving a ton of money.
Right.
So it's a very simple equation, there. And the fact that Coscarelli had the negative, all that negative, that had never been seen before and had never been used in any DVD, special features that had never been used, was amazing. It was a miracle. It was fantastic. And so to see that woven into the film and to know that that's what we were going to do it was exciting to think about it, and then to see it executed was thrilling because it worked so beautifully. And there are very few films where you get to see characters, the same actors playing the same characters with 30 years in between. I mean, that's just very rare.
Right. Sometimes
it happens, There's Star Wars, I guess you could say, but there's not too many movies like that.
Yeah, they made a big ballyhoo about Boyhood because they filmed it over 12 years, but it's a 3-hour tedious movie. When you look at Phantasm 4, that's 30 years in the making, and it's anything but a tedious movie. It's a completely...
I loved Boyhood.
You did?
Boyhood a lot. I think it absolutely should have won Best Picture. I love Richard Linklater. He lives in Austin, where I live, by the way.
Oh, I love him as a director. I just wasn't a fan of that particular movie, but...
I love that particular movie. I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I love that movie. It blew me fucking away. I thought it was fabulous. Loved it. I bought that movie hook, line, and sinker.
Fair enough. That's excellent. That's what and there is that's what makes the world go round. Opinions, right? And
right. There you go.
It's all good, and a lot of people felt that way, which is great. And I love Linklater as a director. I don't know. I think maybe I didn't know what I was going in to see, and I just sort of sat down and. I was kind of nonplussed when I came out of it. So maybe it's me.
All right, well, you're wrong, and you need to go back. Eventually, you're going to go back, and you're going to see what a beautiful, beautiful movie that is. Yeah. Beautiful.
If I ever find myself with 3 spare hours, I might just do that. But doubtful. So what I was trying to do was give you a compliment about Phantasm 4.
I'm sorry. I missed the compliment part there. Go ahead.
I was just trying to say, 30 years in the making, screw 12, 30 years in the making, and you're giving a performance as interesting and riveting in the younger scenes as you are in the older scenes. And here's the big question about Phantasm then, that because, especially with 5 coming out, I've heard, and speaking to Reggie, and I have a friend of mine, Robert Long, who was out in Hollywood for a while and worked with Don a little bit on Bubba Hotep, and also did a, 20 years of Phantasm poster, specially commissioned poster, which I think there was only 100 made. And he has spoken to Don about this. And that is the idea that there was always a plan for Phantasm, that there is a complete through line for all the movies, and that Don is completely well aware of how it wants to be wrapped up and da-da-da-da-da. And then there's the other camp that says, no, each movie was its own thing. They came up with stuff as each new movie was proposed. And yes, they've expanded the world, but it's all in sort of pieces still. What's your theory? Do you know for certain? Does Ravenger clear a lot of stuff up?
Hey, hold on. What's my theory? I don't have to have a theory.
Okay.
I know the truth to the answer to this ridiculous question.
It is a ridiculous question.
It's stupid because listen, nobody can know 3 years ago what some through line of some movie is going to be, as if they knew there was going to be 5 of them. Nobody can know that.
Right.
No one.
I agree.
No one could ever have known. As far as Coscarelli was concerned back then, that was a one-off.
Right.
I don't know, but he had no idea that he would ever make a sequel. That's just absurd. So the idea that Plus the other thing is that, Phantasm has always been made with these it's been very vague, and it's been very vague at first, maybe as an accident of an artistic achievement, and then secondly done because the fans always had way better ideas than we ever had.
Right.
So when you leave something very open to the imagination, when you don't answer questions, some people will be frustrated, but most of the people will be intrigued because it leaves you go away from the theater and you talk about it, you think about it.
I agree, and I don't need there to be closure. To me, it's an ongoing saga, and it's ongoing whether you make another movie or not. Somewhere, Reggie, Mike, Jody, the tall man, they're all off doing what they're doing. It's an ongoing saga in my head, and I think that 4, certainly Oblivion, has something of an attempt to, and you'll tell me whether this was even discussed or not, but some attempt to kind of, at that point, begin to build a mythology. Is that fair to say?
I think that's probably fair to say. Certainly by the time Oblivion comes around and we start in the mid 90s, late 90s, start talking about making Oblivion. Now we're being very careful about what the lore is.
Right.
And we're trying to, pay close attention to that for sure.
Sure. And I think that to be honest, just as a film fan and a film watcher, that's what comes across. Like the first 3 are very, each one expands the universe and each one creates new things while maintaining, the same characters doing certain things and within the certain kind of world. But there's no like lore building necessarily. I mean, the abilities of the tall man and the use of the sphere and the zombies and everything in part 3 and things, they're all different to what happens in the first one. But by the 4th one, with the time jumping and the old footage and all that kind of stuff, there seems to be like something solidifying at that point a little bit more. So, so I never understood why people used to say, oh, no, there's a definite plot and the whole thing's been planned out and everybody knows what's going on. Because I was like, that doesn't even ring true.
That's very flattering, but we couldn't. I mean, really. And it's
right.
Not reasonable.
But I mean, it's also great that I love that it's a series that people can delve into and form their own through lines. Like, that's what I like about it, that you can go in and...
That's what I like about it, too, and we feel very lucky and blessed that we got to be involved in a project that people are still talking about after all this time. I mean, that's the truth. There's no money to be made in these movies.
Right.
There's really not. People don't necessarily understand that, but, there's really not a lot of money to be made, especially now. So the only reason to make these movies is for the fans, is for the people that like the films. Yeah. That's it. There is no other reason to make the film, except that we know that there are people that really love these movies. So, okay, can we maybe make another one? Can we muster up the energy to do it? And that really is the reason. That's it.
So just to wrap it up then, because we've talked a long time and I don't want to keep you any later, sir, but just to wrap it up then, you've been doing, certainly in the last sort of 5 years, it seems, you've been doing a lot more kind of horror, genre, B-movies, call them what you like, appearances. Yeah. And you've also done a directorial debut, right, on film as well. You've got Phantasm Ravager. So just talk a little bit about this, the last sort of 5 years of your career and the convention circuit and things like that. How's that all been?
Well, I'll just say that, I've got several films coming out. I've got a movie called Flay, with an F, like Frank, Flay.
Yeah.
That's coming out soon. That's directed by a guy named Eric Pham. It's a genre picture. Should be good. Looking forward to that. I've got another movie that I made called Brutal, which is lost in a little bit of distribution legal nightmare, but someday that movie will come out. That's a fucking hardcore torture porn movie, and I'm proud of that work. I hope to see that come out someday. Because I'm also half naked through most of the movie, so that should be good. And then I start shooting a movie called Violet next month for my buddy Justin Paul Warren, another genre picture. That's a sort of a slasher movie. And so there's a lot of things happening. In terms of the convention circuit, it's something that we do 2, 3, 4 times a year. It's an opportunity to meet the fans, and we certainly always have a great time. The Phantasm fans are a unique bunch. They're very passionate about the films, and it's always it's an honor to meet them. Truly, the people are. I can't tell you how many times a guy has come up to me, and he's roughly my age, and he has a story to tell about when he first saw Phantasm and how his childhood sucked and was hideous, and is, the really hideous. Bad. Like, here's the terrible, terrible things that were happening to me. But Phantasm was this lifeline.
Yeah.
And Mike battling the tall man is the only thing that helped me to survive this truly miserable childhood that I had to deal with. And so, those are true stories, and we hear them over and over again, and it resonates with us.
No, definitely. Do you also find that, and this is maybe what I was trying to ask earlier with the wrap-up, but do you find that the reason why you've been more, maybe doing more movies and more things like that, do roles come your way via the conventions? Do people ask you to be in things via the conventions, or are the movies and the conventions completely separate still?
They're not totally separate. They are linked in that way, and it might be partly because of that, but it's also because of the advent of Facebook and the availability and my personal availability, and it's also my age, so I'm not a leading man. Those days are clearly gone. I'm something, and so now there's just more parts for me to play if I don't have to compete for the leading man part.
Right.
So that's a relief in many ways.
Yeah, of course. And is Violet? Sorry, I'm looking at your IMDb. Is Violet an offshoot, a feature version of Welcome to the Dauntless Motel, or do you just happen to play the same character?
Welcome to the Dauntless is a teaser trailer shot as a fundraising tool for that movie.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I wondered if it was something like that. Okay, and then so Phantasm Ravager. Then, what can you tell us about that? I mean, obviously, I'm not someone who's sort of digging for gossip or plot points or whatever, but what can you tell us about producing that and keeping it secret, and then what the reaction was when it was revealed?
Well, I can only tell you that it wasn't difficult to keep it a secret, even though you'd think it would be so hard with all the people involved in making a feature. How could that possibly be kept secret for so long? But we're all old friends, and so it wasn't that hard. We just said, okay, let's just not talk about it, and then no one did. So it's kind of a miracle, and we were able to keep it under wraps for a long time. All I can really tell you is that I haven't even seen the movie myself, so I haven't seen it. I've done the ADR on it, so I've seen scenes, and I think the fans are going to love it. I think they're going to eat it up. I think they're going to really like it. That's all. That's really all I can really say. I'm really looking forward to seeing a completed picture. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be pretty cool, and I know for sure that anybody that knows anything about Phantasm, which is not everybody, I admit, but the people that do I think they're going to love it.
They're going to love it, and so
I think so.
And
I hope so.
Working with the new director, was there a big change in that, or was Don there a lot of the time anyway?
Well, Don was there the whole time, but Dave Hartman comes at it from a different point of view. As a professional animator and someone who grew up as an illustrator and then became an Emmy-winning animator. He approaches a film from a completely different point of view, and that is, and I come from an animation family, so I know what I'm talking about. An animator, it's all about storyboarding. Every single frame is boarded. Every frame. So that's pretty different than a live-action director.
Sure.
Because a live-action director might storyboard complicated sequences, but an animation director will board every single sequence because that's how they're trained to make movies.
Right.
So it's very different. So the director comes to you now and they shows you the board. Oh, here's every single. I mean, for every scene.
Wow.
The whole thing. So that's a different approach.
Well, I tell you what, we cannot wait to see it. I can't thank you enough. This has been a real pleasure to talk to you. It's been, whenever I can have a nice, relaxed conversation and we can go all over the place, the happier I am. And I think it makes...
Good, me too.
But yeah, thanks ever so much, Michael. This has been a real pleasure.
John, it's my pleasure.
Please send my best regards to all the Phantasm crew as you see them. If you're seeing Reggie, he probably won't remember doing the interview, but if he does, say hello from me and say that I'm sat next to the ukulele as we speak, and it's my pride and joy. So thanks very much.
Awesome. All right, bro.
All right, take it easy. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon. You bet.
Bye now. I tell you, if that didn't thrill you, if that wasn't a thrilling interview for you, to get to know the man, to get to meet the man, telling you I should have my own show on NPR. It's a fact. I should have my own show on PBS or something. I should have my own show that I don't have to edit and produce every week, you know? But no, it's a fantastic conversation with Michael and such an interesting fellow and challenging and funny and intelligent and just great. I really enjoyed it. I hope all the fans did too. So now, let's move on with more praise and discussion and stuff like that of the After Movie Diner. And I don't know, what should we do now? I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We're going to continue with more celebrity interviews. I'm not kidding. On the line in a minute is going to be another celebrity. Hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner. The one, the only. He's a songwriter. He's a filmmaker. He's an actor. He recently appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. It is marvelous Matt Farley himself, the man behind Motown Media. Hello, sir.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. Yes, we've reached the big 200. Where do you fall on the whole Phantasm series, sir? Are you a fan?
I've never even seen it. The box cover alone always made me think that it wasn't something I would want to see.
Oh, okay. Because of elements, the kind of surreal, ghostly, weird elements?
Yeah. I prefer my horror movies set in some kind of reality. But I don't even know. I mean, it was just a gut reaction. What is Phantasm about?
Well, Phantasm is it is surreal and weird, but it's loosely about some possible aliens who have taken over a mortuary and who are turning corpses into dwarfs to send back to their planet to work as slaves.
So I would say my gut reaction to the cover was accurate then.
Now, I have another question for you, sir. It's not related to 200 episodes, but I'm currently, because the dinner we've planned tonight will take another hour to cook, and I'm already hungry. I'm currently eating some Eggo waffles covered in Aunt Jemima syrup. I know you're a fan of the instant sugary food snack. Where do you fall on Eggo waffles and Aunt Jemima syrup?
I'm pro both of those things. The only thing missing is some whipped cream. What I would do, I would toast the waffle.
Yeah.
Put it on a plate, then smother it in whipped cream.
Right.
Then the maple syrup, and then you mix the maple syrup with the whipped cream, and then you just go to town.
I'm just lacking the whipped cream. Everything else you've described is exactly what I've done. I went butter. My lady Kim put some butter on the waffle.
Oh, that's pretty great. That's pretty great.
That's fantastic. And I think it's this kind of informative, snack-based discussion that people are looking for from the After Movie Diner's 200th episode. What do you think, sir?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've learned a lot about movies that I'd never heard of from the diner, but I love the tangents that you guys go off on. And I love the tension between you and Mr. Wallace, because I get nervous. I'm like, oh no, they're arguing a really minuscule point, and neither one is backing down.
Well, it won't be fully in the next episode that Jim is on, which may actually not air till November now, because I'm doing horror movies all through October. Nice. But we recorded. Do you remember we did the episode "The Trap" about my friend Fergus's horror movie?
Yeah.
Fergus came to New York. And Jim and I met up with him and went into a diner to talk about a comedy movie called Whoops Apocalypse, in which we had an epic 1 hour diversion down into a political tangent, because the movie's called Whoops Apocalypse. It's about sort of the Reagan-Thatcher era, and it's sort of a parody of what happened in the Falkland Islands and stuff like that. It's a joke comedy movie, but it's got political overtones. And so we, obviously, because of the current political climate, we went off. And it was funny because Fergus sat opposite us, arguing and bickering, and kept trying to bring it back around to the movie. And we kept diverting again. Now, that won't be included entirely in its entirety in the podcast, but you'll see kind of where it begins and where it ends.
Yeah, you'll trim it down a bit. But, yeah. Yeah. And do you have questions for me? Is this how we're doing this, or what? What's the plan?
The plan was just to have people kind of drop in at this stage. I am asking people, if it's not putting them on the spot, to list their favorite episode or episodes, favorite comedy sketch, favorite song or jingle, and favorite interview. So I don't know if you have any of those up your sleeve.
Well, let me just some good AMD memories. I know you just said you're doing more horror. I love that Horror-tober intro that you did. I think you only did it for 1 year, like 2012 or 13 maybe.
Right.
No, I think it was 2012.
Okay.
And you would play that little intro, like a minute-long intro that was some spooky music and also some talking. And I have fond memories of that.
Yes, I will be doing something similar this year.
That was fantastic.
Essentially, this 200th episode is the first episode of Horror-tober 2016.
We're kind of easing into the horror.
Yeah, well, Phantasm is horror, so that's kind of covered by the interview.
Very nice.
And then we've got a slasher sequel podcast planned. That's a scoop. Nobody else knows that.
Well, I noticed on Twitter you were watching Halloween 2. Does that have something to do with it?
It does. I'm thinking Halloween 2, maybe Prom Night 2, I'm thinking. And Child's Play 2 we're talking about as well.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So slasher sequels with Scott Toomey, who you remember did the holiday-themed slashers back in the day.
Nice. All right, here's a favorite episode. One of many. The one where Pitch Perfect won several year-end awards.
The alternative Oscars, when I have my wonderful friends Andrew Buckley, Nadia Buckley, and Paul Croson on, and they pushed me into, majority rules, right, in a democracy. So
I think Dr. Action was. Wait, are you Dr. Action or?
No, I'm the kick-ass kid. He's Dr. Action.
Dr. Action was on that one too, I think.
Yeah, that's Paul Croson.
Oh, okay. I only know him as Dr. Action.
That's all he should ever be known as, the doc. Yeah.
Good. That was a great episode. I love all the Woods and Weller stuff, and it's amazing because I've seen almost none of the movies you guys have covered.
Right.
And I still have a grand old time listening.
Well, I think that's the plan. The plan is to engage people personally. And that's why I'm sat here talking to you right now, eating Eggo waffles and Aunt Jemima syrup, because I want the people who listen to the podcast to know I'm just like them. I'm not sat in an aloof white tower somewhere, lording it over people with my intimate movie knowledge of obscure Peter Weller films.
A lot of people thought you were that until today, so
yes.
It's good to finally let them know.
A lot of people thought I was a Roger Ebert figure looking down my nose at anybody and everything. But no, not at all, Matt. I'm just like you and me.
I have fond memories of the episode you guys did about the Christian Slater Ice movie. Remember that one?
Stranded. Are you talking about the one where he was up in space?
Oh yeah, in space. That's right.
Yeah, where we actually got in trouble. Well, we didn't get in trouble. The producer of the film. I've mentioned this in the Walking to the Diner videos, but I don't think I've ever mentioned it actually on the Diner. But the producer of the film wrote to me and said, "We found your Christian Slater song on Spotify because I put up that album about them what make movies."
Doctor, the worst in space. I should cocoa. In fact, it could be the worst in the world. And then those meteors contain rapidly reproducing spores. And it's a mutated alien baby growing in the belly of your honey girl. You know you gotta shut them doors. Well, shut them doors. Shut them tight to avoid contamination by alien spores. And if you just shut the doors, shut them doors, you'd be partly the solution, Christian, and not the cause. Well, does the alien spore?
And he said, "That's great, it's wonderful." And I said, "Oh, it comes from a podcast we did about your movie Stranded." And he said, "I love that. I'm going to go take a listen to the podcast." So I then, the next day at work, to double check, listened to that podcast in which Jim hilariously accuses the producers of all being on cocaine.
Did you ever hear back from them?
No, we never heard back from them.
Look, I mean, if you put something out into the world, people
That's
are
what
going to
it is.
react to it in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's perfectly fine. I've been called lots of bad things for the things I've done, and I love it because it's an honor that anyone's watching and that anyone's reacting. It's a thrill. It's a thrill for me, and it should still be a thrill for those big shot producers of a Christian Slater in space movie.
Yeah, if you become super, you've been on the Tonight Show, so you're now super famous. But let's say you become even more super famous. Let's go stratospheric. Is that a word?
I didn't know it was possible to break my level of fame, but wow.
I think you're gonna break it. If you become bigger than Tom Petty, I'm just gonna put it out there, bigger than Tom Petty, your arch nemesis and rival. You become bigger than our podcasting nemesis, Mark Maron.
Mm-hmm.
Who interviewed John Carpenter without really knowing who John Carpenter is. John Carpenter should be talking to me, not Mark Maron. So I have a personal vendetta with him now as well. But if you become bigger than that person and you do your gig, and I call up like at the last minute, "Oh, dude, like I'll give you the money, but I can't get it. Like, can I get in or whatever?" Would you turn around and be like, "No, I am too big now to let my friends get into the gig"? You wouldn't be like that, would you?
No, well, I mean, I would either say, yes, there is a back way and happily direct you to it, or say, no, there's nothing I can do. I'm so sorry.
Right, exactly.
Let's meet up and talk movies, though.
Let's meet up afterwards, and I'll play you a song on a harpsichord or something.
Oh, yeah, I would do that. Yeah, that would be good.
But no, that's all I mean is at a certain point, people shouldn't look down on other people, and I don't know how we got to this conversation. Anyway, back to
yeah, my favorite Diner song is
the
interview theme. Oh, talk to me, oh, you know that one?
Really? That's your favorite song? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think anyone's mentioned that to me yet. Everyone loves the mailbag jingle, and yet, everyone's like,
there are various mailbag jingles, though, right?
No.
Oh, okay. But some of your the spoiler alerts are what would vary.
The spoiler alerts back in the day would vary, but I got lazy, Matt, is what happened. And also, okay, so there's been two things. First of all, a friend of mine, Leanna Chamish, who's amazing, asked me, will you ever release the spoiler jingles?
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, I wish I'd thought about it, because I never kept them separate. I would be editing the show. Mm-hmm. I would pick up my ukulele, do the spoiler song, and then keep editing. So it's embedded in the show. They're not separate sound files.
Yeah.
So the only way to do that would be to go through all the shows and edit those bits out. And that would take I mean, some of the early shows are 3 to 4 hours long, as you know. That would take weeks and months. So,
attention, super fans, Movie Diner super fans, get to work. We want every single spoiler alert song isolated. Get to work. We'll give you a month.
Yeah, I should have appealed to my fans. And then the other funny thing is the mailbag jingle. I get a lot of people say, "Hey, what happened to the mailbag jingle?" To which I say, "Hey, what happened to the mail?"
Like, here comes the postman. Da, 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 right?
Yeah.
It was that. Yeah.
If I got mail and or comments, I would play the mailbag jingle. It's not like I went, "Oh, I'm retiring the mailbag jingle." It's not that at all. I just don't get mail.
The mail stopped coming. That's heartbreaking.
So, do you know what I think it is, Matt Farley? Is I think it's social media. I think that people interact with me via Twitter and Facebook every day. What are they writing me emails about? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If they were like, "Oh, which actor do you want to be on the diner?" They wouldn't email me. They would just ask me on Facebook.
Exactly. Let me tell you a few more great memories.
Sorry, yes, go ahead. Dude.
A turning point.
Yeah.
Where we got to know John Cross the person was the time he went to Philadelphia and for the Comic-Con. Was it a Comic-Con?
Wizard World. Yes, it was. It was Wizard World Comic-Con, yeah. Matt is referring to episode 41 for anyone who wants to go and have a listen.
And that was a great one. I didn't care about the celebrities you were meeting or the things you were seeing. It was the personal inner monologue of John Cross explaining like his troubles with the person who's your connection there.
Jerry. Jerry.
You still remember the name?
Yeah. Jerry Milani. He still gives me passes to go to the Comic-Cons. I haven't been for a couple of years, but he's a good but confused dude. And I think that the thing with Wizard World is it got very big very, very quickly. Like that first year I went, whenever it was, 2011, 2012, it was a little thing. I think like the biggest people who were there was like Bruce Campbell and Shatner. And CM Punk was there. I don't know. Do you know who that is? Wrestler guy? I don't know.
I've heard the name.
And they were like the couple of big ones. And then this last year had, I think it was like 2 Doctor Who's, all the guys from Marvel Avengers, the Green Arrow guy. Like it had everyone. And it was just one of those things where I've no interest in that. At that point, it becomes waiting online and having to... there's 50 people you want to meet, and you have to, you have to like pick 1 out of 50 people you're going to meet because you can't line up for everybody because there's just no way to schedule it at this point. So I think it got a bit big for its boots.
And lastly, I really liked the episode we did for the Cape Fear one not too long ago, and I really enjoyed the one that came right after it, the King of Comedy. So those are good. But I mean, it's always good. I love talking movies, and I love listening to you talk movies with your people. And 200 episodes. Oh my God, your voice has been in my head for a lot of hours.
I'm sorry about that, Matt. Also, I've guested on your show, so technically it's more than 200 episodes.
Oh, you have put out a lot of brilliant stuff into the world, and it's amazing. It's amazing that anyone listens, and a lot more than anyone listens. Lots of people listen. So you've done it, and at 300 episodes. Imagine where the podcast will take you then.
Indeed. It's going to be exciting to find out. I've spoken to Michael Ironside while he's on a road trip. I've spoken to Clint Howard at Christmas time. Matt and I then get diverted off into a conversation about podcast advertising.
That's good. No code. I'm so all these commercials are like, all you have to do is go to this website and type in the word whatever. It's like I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry.
Do you know the only time that helped was when I set up the website on Squarespace, and I was like, I'm sure if I put in Nerdist, I hadn't even listened to the Nerdist podcast in a while, but I'm sure if I put in Nerdist, that offer is still running, and it did, and it saved me 10%. So that was like, that was about it. I haven't used it otherwise. If I had to read one, I wouldn't be jerks like those people who read yours out. They were jerks.
Yeah. But
name them. Name the jerks, Matt. Name
Hollywood Handbook. Don't listen to their podcast. They were mean to me once.
They were jerks. Yeah.
But like, I listen to these commercials. They're like, going to the post office is so difficult. It's the hardest thing to do. And I'm like, I like going to the post office. I enjoy going to the post office. It's a nice outing. I like talking to the people at the counter. You know, it's a good time. What are you talking about? And then they're like, shaving is so buying a razor at the store is virtually impossible. Sometimes you have to get them to unlock it from a case. How can you possibly do this? It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's not that, like, don't create this fake problem. Just say, hey, we'll send you razors if you want. Don't lie about how hard it is to buy. I'll stop.
No, I agree. 100%. And I will never, I can't say I'll never. No, I will.
Don't never say never, because I would totally, for the right price, I would start talking. I'd be like, post office, it's impossible to get there. You can't get there, and the lines are 7 hours long. Type in Moturn.
Yeah, that's exactly where we'll be in 10 years' time.
Right.
But anyway, dude, this has been fun. Thanks for being part of the 200th episode, and just plug your stuff before you go.
Listen to the After Movie Diner on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and go to aftermoviediner.com.
Yeah. And also plug your stuff, dude, not my stuff. They're listening to my stuff.
Hey, this is the 200th episode. Enough about me. This is John Cross's moment. Matt Farley signing out.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, have a good one.
That was awesome. Bye now.
He's walking to the door now with his own shoulder plate. And if you don't know what I mean, that's companies like the fight. Doesn't get the company, he sounds a little posh, but he scrubs up lovely, he's clearly fixed the dosh. Jim Wallace has got a brand new hat. The kids are thinking fucker, they all want one like that. Jim Wallace, although we love your hat, the man's from the Monty, he says he wants it back.
Well, the song you're listening to right now is Jim Wallace's New Hat by the fantastic Adrian Malsher, better known to the world as Voodoo Fuzz, at Voodoo Fuzz on Twitter. And he wrote me an email earlier the week that went, well, another milestone in AMD history calls for another ditty and message. Congratulations for the big 200. So many of my all-time favorite podcasts never make it anywhere near that. The dedication required to keep the consistent level of quality is truly inspiring. Thank you on behalf of all your listeners. You might not hear from the vast majority of us that often, but I can assure you your show means a very great deal to us all. He also said, find attached Jim's hat tribute as promised. For some reason, I felt the need for a Chaz and Dave styly. And the lyrics, for anyone who's interested, he's walking to the diner with his old china plate, and if you don't know what that means, it's Cockney slang for mate. I don't think he's a Cockney. He sounds a little posh, but he scrubs up lovely. He's clearly spent some dosh. Old Jim Wallace has got a brand new hat. The geezers think it's pucker. They all want one like that. Oh, Jim Wallace, although we love your hat, the man from Del Monte, he says he wants it back. They started this palaver 200 shows ago, and now we get to see Jim on Cross's camera phone. There's not much of a barnet upon his loaf of bread, and so he's got a tipfer he puts on there instead. And that's phenomenal. I mean, that's just fantastic. That's just incredible. For people who don't know or don't remember, Voodoo Fuzz, or Adrian, is the guy who wrote the fantastic After Movie Diner song, which I'll be playing at the end of the show. But I've also played on several other shows before. I absolutely love it. It gets stuck in my head, and I think it's fantastic. And this new Jim Wallace song will definitely be on rotation as well on the old iPod. So we're going to hear from Jim Wallace right after this, but I think we need to hear the song in its entirety. So I'm going to play the song, and then you're going to hear from Jim Wallace, and then more stuff.
He's walking to the door now with his own shoulder plate. And if you don't know what I mean, that's companies like the fight. Doesn't get the company, he sounds a little posh, but he scrubs up lovely, he's clearly fixed the dosh. Jim Wallace has got a brand new hat. The games are thinking fucker, they all want one like that. Jim Wallace, although we love your rat, the man starts the Monday, he says he wants it back. I started this palaver 200 shows ago, and now we get to see Jim across his camera phone. There's not much of a bonnet upon his loaf of bread, and so he's got a tipper he puts on there instead. Jim Wallace has got a brand new hat. The games are thinking fucker, they all want one like that. Jim Wallace, although we love your rat, the man starts a Monday, he says he wants it back. Jim Wallace has got a brand new hat. The games are thinking fucker, they all want one like that. Jim Wallace, although we love your rat, the man's from the Monday, he says he wants it back now. Jim Wallace has got a brand new hat. The games are thinking fucker, they all want one like that. Jim Wallace, although we love your rat, the man's from the Monday, he says he wants it back. Oi!
Hello, mate. I was just calling to say congratulations on your 200th episode. Well done, you. Especially since so many of them have involved me, and that can't have been easy. I know that most people prefer your earlier, funnier stuff before I got involved. But I can't remember what number I was on, but I was on some TV special thing where we talked about how crap The Walking Dead was. But I think I talked for quite a long time about a load of old bollocks, and you going, otherwise didn't have to be back for a while. But then we did, and then we went to movies and stuff, and I just wanted to say I'm so honoured to have been a part of it all these years. It's kept me going through some really tough times. I know it's kept you going through some really tough times, and all the support of everyone who listens and each other. It's been a really amazing journey, man, and I can't wait for another 200. And hopefully I'll be on again soon and we can talk rubbish, because honestly, talking rubbish with you every week is the highlight of my life. That's not true. It's not the highlight of my life, is it? That's my wife. My wife is the highlight of my life. But you're in the top 10, maybe the top 20, possibly 23, probably like 24. I'd say 24. That would be the number I would choose, maybe like 27, 28, something like that. But anyway, the point being, congratulations, mate. And thanks for letting me be a part of it. It's been an amazing experience, and I can't wait for more. All right, man. Well, be good. I hope this is of some use. If it's not, let me know so I can try again. I feel like it was a bit crap. But there we go. I can't end phone calls either, even messages. So what can you do? I meant to say, you can put this on, somewhere that sounds a bit more natural. But I also wanted to say that if you told me a few years back that one day someone would write a song about my hat, a completely amazing song about my hat, I would not have known where to put myself. But these are the joyous days that I find myself, where going to a movie with my mate ends up in a really good night, lots of laughs, and eventually someone writes a song about my hat. Can't get better than that. All right, man. Take care. Bye.
Well, there you go, Adrian. Voodoo Fuzz. I hope you were listening to that, but Jim is bloody chuffed. That's the sound of Jim when he's bloody chuffed about a song about his hat. That's what he sounds like. That's all you're going to get, I'm afraid. But no, he sounds great. He sounds great. He's bloody chuffed about that song, and I hope everyone enjoyed hearing it. I really just do want to commission Voodoo Fuzz to do all the songs for the diner from now on, so I don't have to bother. Because I'm lazy and I have no time. Do you see what we do on the website? Go check out aftermoviediner.com. Seriously, so much stuff all the time. Anyway, that was my Kids in the Hall bit. Big muscles. From anyone who's seen Brain Candy. I'm just going off now. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm still editing this damn fucking show. And you're going to get what you get. Anyway, I thought it would be good to keep the continuity going, seeing as we just had Jim Wallace How about we hear from John Wallace? Well, we can do that now. By the miracle of email, well, sort of. Anyway, he wrote to us about the 200th show using the Contact Us section on the website, actually, which you can all do if you go over to aftermoviediner.com and contact us anytime you like, in any way you like. Anyway, he writes, having been privileged to participate in the very first episode of the After Movie Diner, I am nothing short of jubilant to see it hit the 200 show mark. It represents a blazing achievement from Mr. Cross and is the ultimate expression of his restless need to create and to vent the strange brew that constantly bubbles away in that brilliantly deranged mind of his. My years of listening and contributing have given me much to treasure. I often giggle to myself at his previous comedy gems like Bane Reads Love in the Time of Cholera. Radio Flange Goblet presents a new riveting series of influential and famous books read by popular people. First in the series, Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Narrated by
Bane! Get out of my chair! Ah! If you had stayed in that chair, it would have been very painful. For you. Right. Let's see if I can find the first chapter. So many pages in this book. I'll have to be this book's reckoning. Okay. Finally, on page 110, this damn book starts. It was inevitable that Bane would read this book. It was inevitable. The scent of bitter almonds always reminded him of the fate of unrequited love. I know of what this author speaks. I too have felt unrequited love, the love of killing. Bane! Dr. Juvenal Obino noticed it as... Wait. That's a stupid name. Nobody has called that. I'm going to call him Dr. Bane. That makes more sense. Dr. Bane. I like the sound of that. Paging Dr. Bane.
And the Gary Oldman song.
Gary, you may be an old man now. Youthful exuberance, no, it never lasts so long. And you have been away in L.A. for so many years. It's nice to have you back where you belong. You've played many a villain. Typecast is not the word. They've traded on your menace. Your pleas were never heard. I just want to play a character you'd say that the audience can like. But mostly producers told you, piss off, Gary, get on your bike. Well, now in Tinker Tailor, you're the hero and a man of the match. Albeit with a wife that doesn't love you and bloody nasal waif Cumberbatch. And with your part in Harry Potter as kindly Uncle Black, you've also won over the children and got the middle-aged women running back. So Gary, shall we have at your party? Everyone! Gary, tell us who you'd like to meet. Everyone! Who do you want to come to your movie? Everyone! Do you think that they would all find a seat?
And I laugh out loud while listening to him and my brother Jim debate the finer points of the latest C movie, fresh from some half-wrecked flea pit of a cinema. Perhaps most importantly, through the Woods and Weller shows and other fun listens, I've discovered a whole new range of films and filmmakers, see Glickenhaus J, I would otherwise have never known. This is a refuge for all those who live to talk movies with their friends and those who refuse to take life too seriously. God bless this diner and all who munch in her. Well, thank you ever so much, Mr. John Wallace, my longest, oldest, dearest, and deepest friend, for that wonderful message. I am exceptionally proud and moist to invite my partner in action movie commentaries, Dr.Action, Doc Paul Croson, onto the show very quickly, just to talk to him about how amazing I am and the podcast is, and how 200 is in some way important. Doc, good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay. As I said, proud, moist, happy to have you on the show. 200 episodes. Wow. Feels like it's flown by. Do you have a comment, sir?
Congratulations. 200 episodes is a big achievement. So you should be feeling very proud of yourself.
On a scale of Roger Moore's career and Taylor Lautner's career, where would it fall?
It's definitely more towards the Roger Moore end, on the sheer sexiness.
I think so. I think it's a far more Moore-esque accomplishment than it is a Lautner accomplishment.
I mean, if Taylor Lautner said that he wanted to come on the diner, would you let him come on the diner? As a guest?
I'd let him come on the diner. In other words, like I'd phone him up. I'd phone him up as he was having an orgasm. That I feel would get me some kind of listenership.
I'd listen to it.
Yeah,
I'd definitely listen to it. I'd probably have it as my ringtone and just going. Just do that.
Well, it's always the double-edged sword, right? If someone of, let's say, the tween appeal, or twappeal, if you like, of a Lautner, if his agent and people got in touch with her and, hi, we hear you're big shit in Hollywood. We would like you to talk to Taylor Lautner. What do you think? It would be one of those double-edged swords, because on one hand, I'd be like, that would get me the highest numbers of any podcast that I'd ever done.
Yeah.
And it would be incredible. On the other hand, I'd really have nothing to talk to him about.
I would. I would. He was in Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I'd just be talking, what's Robert Rodriguez like? And he'd be like, I played a werewolf. I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, couldn't care less about your Twiglet series. No, I just wouldn't know what to talk to him about. I'd be like, Taylor, so you're an actor? Yep. And you're finding it difficult to have any kind of career after the Twiglet series. Yep. And then that would be that would kind of be it. But yeah, so 200 episodes. Do you have any favorites? So do you have a favorite interview or a favorite sketch or a favorite song or a favorite episode? Have you been looking back through the 200 episodes and sort of?
I've listened at odd points to the various ones. They're my favorite ones. I think. Let's see. The James Bond ones are fantastic.
Yes, with Mal Fisher. Yeah,
they're really good. I'm just trying to think of the other ones. The Marvel ones with David DeMoss, very good.
Yeah, well, DeMoss really brings an A game when it comes to reviewing what I would call just kind of trashy blockbusters. He really does delve deep. He has all the knowledge, and he brings it, I feel. In fact, I just watched his review for that Michael Bay, I Love America and America Military is Great movie, 13 Hours.
Yeah.
And DeMoss did an incredible video on that where he goes into the history of it and the politics of it, but he also goes into the Michael Bay-ness of it, and he just really deconstructs the movie in a fascinating way.
It's not a bad film. Have you seen it?
Anything made by kind of anything that's to do like Zero Dark 30, 13 Hours, any of the Peter Berg movies featuring Wally Wahlberg. I've no Marky Mark. I've no interest in those things. They appeal to a certain cross section of American public, and that is wonderful.
Yeah,
but
Trump supporters.
And I completely I understand people watching them for entertainment and action and all the rest of it, but
it's actually not a bad film. It's quite good. It's got some good action in it.
Yeah. It's the chest thumperiness of it all that I'm not. It's not my fave.
You mean fuck America? Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Not fuck America, as in fuck America. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if the only way to
She said America, fuck yeah.
The only way to really fuck America would be to impregnate the Statue of Liberty, I feel.
Or vote for Donald Trump.
Right, true. But no, if you... and the only way to really have sex with Lady Liberty, obviously you can't physically have... You could hump her leg or foot or toe, I suppose, but you'd probably get arrested. It would be to find a French woman who lives by the harbour. That would be the closest. She's
there.
Yeah. That's really what you're looking at if you want to have sex with America, is to find a French chick who lives by the water and fuck her.
Yeah, name's Michelle.
But I do like how we have you on the show to discuss the podcast, and already we're all off and running on other things.
Yeah, they are good. They're all good. They're all fantastic. And certainly through the years, your interviews, you're going quite up the alphabet list, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's odd how sometimes it peaks. Michael Ironside, I would have assumed would have been a much, much bigger thing. But because he's not on social media and he doesn't share it, that's a problem. And so I have to do all the marketing for it myself. And a lot of people are just like, whatever, like, who's this guy with Michael Ironside? Like, not interested. Whereas something like Sarah Hagan, even though she's not as well known an actor, because she shared it all over her social media and because she is in a new movie with Barbara Crampton that's kind of being talked about, Sunchoke, and because just because it's sort of all happening now for her, that got bigger listenership than the Michael Ironside one. So yeah, it swings around about. So you think the bigger names will be bigger, but sometimes the smaller names have more social media oomph, and that's what it comes down to.
No, it's but yeah, some of the interviews are fantastic. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you, sir. And obviously it's Horrortober at the moment, so we're going to be doing something every single day, horror film related. So people should enjoy and check that out.
Very good. It's all going swimmingly well.
It is. It's a lot of work, and I wish I didn't have to. I wish it was paying me to live so I could just do that. Because it's.
I'm the same with receiving a good rimming session.
Right. Yes.
If I could receive that and get paid for it, my life would be so much better.
It would be, I imagine.
Pipe dreams, son. It'll never happen.
Literally, in the case of rimming, a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Or nightmare, pipe nightmare, maybe. Pipe mare.
I don't know.
A
wet
pipe
dream,
mare.
no nightmare.
So that's exciting. But thanks for being on the After Movie Diner for this 200th episode celebration.
That's all right. I didn't add much, did I?
No, no, not really. It's a waste of time. You added 10 minutes is what you added.
Yes, I did. Yeah, you got a longer running time now. Yeah, sorry, After Movie Diner listeners. You've waited no time at all for me to come back on the show, and when I've come back on, I've completely disappointed you.
Not at all, my friend. Not at all. It was all great.
But congratulations to Mr. Wallace, to Mr. Cross, to Mr. Wallace. They're your two main co-hosts.
Sure.
So congratulations. 200 is fantastic.
It is. And here's 200 more.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Wow.
I'm joking.
Another 50 maybe. And of course we're coming up to the 100th episode of Dr.Action.
It should soon be there, won't it?
So that's exciting.
This time in 2 years we'll get there.
Yeah. We'll do another 3 in 2 years. But it's all good. No, I want to try and do it monthly. Anyway, thank you for being on the After Movie Diner. And now a quick segment that I'm going to call, Mal, tell us what you really feel about Moonraker.
Moonraker. Colossally silly.
Yeah.
Just draggingly stupid.
And I would say, whereas doing Live and Let Die to not intentionally piggyback the blaxploitation craze or the exploitation craze, but certainly with that vibe in it, worked, whereas this, to piggyback the Star Wars craze, failed miserably.
Yes, there's a simple fact here. Any film that features a double-taking pigeon should be condemned.
Yes. I don't even know why I've kept this one here. So, So the other fellow who was mentioned in my conversation with Doc Paul Crowson, or Dr.Action as you all know him, was none other than Sir David DeMoss, who has an open invitation whenever we discuss comic book movies to come onto the show and flap his gums about. And we do sure love it when he does that. Anyway, he wrote to us this on Facebook. This is a bit of a deep cut, flowing with a thick blood of nostalgia, but with deadlines looming, I would nominate your critique of The Walking Dead's first season, beginning about 26 minutes into episode 5. That's where I first got good and hooked on the sweet, sweet stuff you serve up in the diner. And after 6 more seasons and a spin-off, it keeps sounding even more prophetic. Don't ask me to pick a bit from episode 141 when you and Philip discussed the more recent entries in Romero's canon. That's the kind of episode I point to when I tell people to listen to your show. A complete piece unto itself. Though you're Jeremad against mid-80s Siskel and Ebert, did they ever like any film? And the subsequent discussion of their incredible capriciousness was like manna to an old hater like me. Also, track 8 from The Pleasancing continues the tradition of liking the second part of any trilogy the best. Congrats on your 200th episode, 7 blessings upon the diner, and many happy returns to you, good sir. May there be 200 more. Well, as he mentioned The Pleasancing, and as The Pleasancing is available on Bandcamp and Spotify and wherever music is sold, so you should go out and jolly well buy it. It's only $4 on Bandcamp, for God's sake, I need to eat. Anyway, as he mentioned The Pleasancing, why don't we have that 8th track and then on to more stuff. Thanks, David, for writing into us.
Out Hitler with just one fist. They call him Don. Oh yeah, they call him Don. He says, I've got to serve my country. I'm gonna be the best. Look out, I'm gonna join the RAF. They call him Don. Oh yeah, they call him Don. Well, you know he passed basic training like a pro.
Mr. Cross, I just wanted to wish you congratulations on your 200th episode of the After Movie Diner. I honestly can't remember how long ago we met, but I'm thinking it was quite a long time at this point, 5 or 6 years on Twitter, along with Doc and a few others, where we talked about Howard the Duck, and the one particular scene with the duck boobs was particularly amusing, and since then, we've stayed in touch, and despite us being on complete opposite ends of this particular continent, but I really enjoyed the After Movie Diner episodes. Particularly, I love your intros. I love the bits you do at the beginning. It's like Monty Python Rebirth. It's wonderful. And I'm really happy that you've hit the 200 mark, and I hope there'll be a lot more episodes coming. But I just want to say congrats, and I look forward to lots more. Take it easy. Bye.
Well, thank you ever so much, Andrew Buckley. And I do suggest everyone skip on over to www.andrewbuckleyauthor.com and check out Andrew's books. Andrew is one of the greatest of all authors, and you should definitely check out what he's writing and putting out, because it is brilliant and comparable to the great works of Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett, and that is no small claim. So, as he mentioned the ridiculous openings I like to do for the show, how about we listen to a few? Perversely on the After Movie Diner. I'm sorry, that should read previously. let's start that again. Previously on the After-Movie Diner, Nigel Balforceps, heir to the Chad Tillingbourne fortune of 2 highly polished golden Peruvian dogs and a few thousand barrels of an unknown greenish liquid that may or may not contain the secret to life itself, but is probably just a fruit extract for use in children's party food, has been forced to flee Pisspottington Hall due to the revelation of his affair with Gladys Uppington Ponsonby, who isn't much to look at, but who the locals down at the old Bull and Truncheon describe as a real firecracker, who after a few sacks of meat goes like a bloody rocket. That's a nude perky rocket, they clarified. This leaves the unruly, untrustworthy, sinister, and often overly salivating evil Uncle Rupert in legal charge of the Ginger children, who, until they turn 18 and are officially presented with a safety plaque by the Queen herself, must be watched around the clock by a fleet of only partially clothed tap-dancing butlers and a matron named Goethe von Himmelstrasser, who once beat Goebbels nonsensical with a giant mouldy sausage. Meanwhile, in the neighbouring village of Clenchy Rectum, the questionable vicar, Tony Big Trumpets, town councillor, Freddie Plurfgumption, and baker, Herbie Tits, are frantically putting an overly complicated plan together to break wrongly convicted pigeon fancier and one-time winner of the Order of the Garter for an incident of indecent exposure which cost the Argentinians the Falkland Islands, Geraldine Nobody's Business, out of a highly guarded outhouse, which is serving as a temporary prison while the other one is being painted and sprayed for quiche. If they don't succeed by midnight, then the deeds to the rectory divert back to oil magnate, playboy, large hat wearer, and occasional puncher of goats, Jack Chest, who intends to have it knocked down to build a large public walk-in wardrobe displaying his collection of highly decorative used merkins and an exhibition of just how many things he's managed to achieve in his life while naked from the waist down. And finally, retired game show host Lenny Cream has been found dead under a stack of defaced pamphlets entitled Premature Ejaculators Monthly. Cause of death is not yet known, but Inspector Hiccup of the yard, the back wall, and a small patch of land he won in a bet in Antigua thinks that the large knife sticking out of his spine may have something to do with it. What will this mean for Justin, the bisexual midget fish farmer, crossdresser, and game show prize display model prodigy who just moved here from Montreal? And where now for Lili Frung, one-time self-help book author, celebrity dietitian, and sex with trampolines addict, who was revealed last week is back on a lethal cocktail of mescaline and tomato ketchup flavoured crisps, yet still planning to fly little Timmy Pip Omelette from Berlin to Reykjavik to be reunited with his long-lost real father so they can both sedate him in a motel bath and steal his genetically compatible bladder so that Timmy can have that life-saving surgery and go on to win the local ice baseball tournament for the $25,000 prize money, which will hopefully be enough to buy him a nice shiny sports car that'll open knickers quicker than Steven Seagal tears open a bagged live boar for breakfast. Morning, Thornton. Lovely weather we're having, what? Rather. A lot of steps in here. Private Simpkins, now, what do we have here? Well, sir, we're working on this cluster bomb. And what kind of thing is that? Well, once working, we'll be able to launch it at the enemy from about 4 countries away. It will land, disperse, and destroy all the buildings in an area of land about the size of Cleethorpes. Remarkable stuff. And what about this? What's this? Yes. Oh, this is a tactical device that can be fired directly at our enemies and destroy them from within by projecting images of their childhood in the sky above the city while subtly manipulating their brains to feel insecure and deep, deep sadness. Oh, and it reawakens any unresolved parental issues too. It leaves them a blubbering wreck by the time we reach the 3rd slide of them in a bath at the age of 2 playing with their winky. Their winky? Yes, sir, that's correct. Well, marvellous stuff, Private. The folks higher up are very impressed, I can assure you. For Queen and country, sir? Well, quite. And where are we on getting everyone to like me? What, sir? Well, where are we on getting everyone to like me? I sent down a memo earlier today. Yeah, I saw that, sir. I thought it was a joke, actually. No, I don't joke, Private. No, I once joked back in 1984 and ended up on latrine duty for a month. Well, sir, I don't know what you want us here in munitions to do about that. People respect you, sir. There's a lot of respect for your command, I can assure you that, sir. Yes, but overall, I don't feel people like me. I know I always wear the uniform, but after so many years, it feels more comfortable than dash civvies. Plus, I do think the old rear end looks pretty bloody special in it. What? Yes, sir, it's very nice. Well, and I know I maybe could go easier on the men sometimes, finish the assault course before we get to the live mines test, for example. We always lose some of the larger chaps that way anyhow. We appreciate the challenge, though, sir. Maybe I should buy everyone a present. Is that what you folks do with your chum Simpkins? Presents? What about a puppy? I could get everyone a puppy. No, wait, they're a bugger to look after. What about a gift basket from the body shop? Huh? I'm not sure that's the most suitable present for the men, sir. Oh, yes, you're right. Dash. Maybe teddy bears, then, or a big box of chocolates. You like me, though, don't you, Simpkins? Well, you're my commanding officer, sir. Yes, but I don't bother you, do I, Simpkins? I mean, if I do, tell me this instant, and I'll buy you a pony to make up for it. A fleet of ponies, with ribbons, and big, big, dreamy eyes. No, sir, no need for all that. It's okay, really. So you like me? You really like me? Sure. Whatever you say, sir. Oh, you've made me the happiest commanding officer on the base, Simpkins. You will have a pony and a body shop gift basket. I saw your nostrils flare when I mentioned them earlier. Oh, well, if you must insist, sir. That's the spirit. Actually, I'm rather partial to the old avocado exfoliating hand scrub. Oh, lovely. Makes the pinkies all soft, nice for working on the machinery, know what I mean? Oh, yeah, no, indeed. Also, the wife is rather partial to a whale semen facial. Oh. She does think it, makes her forehead all shiny, gets rid of the zits, what? Oh, I bet it does, yeah. She loves it. And I like to bathe the kids in that raspberry, strawberry and vanilla trifle flavoured bubble bath. That was a clip from Army, Dear Army, the latest film by British director Gerald Flabotnam-Curse, who regular listeners will remember visited us here on Minky Minky's Film Hour last year, and after marking his territory with an alarming amount of nostril spray, proceeded to... Wait, just a minute, what are you doing? Well, my film show. This is Minky Minky's Film Hour, and I'm Minky Minky. And with an all-new format, some scrubbed monogrammed knee pads and a live neutering of Radio Flange Corplet Station mascot and enraged treacle-doused heron, it's time for a rundown of the fantastic audio shows you'll be actively ignoring this summer. In June, we introduced the all-new quick-fire quiz show with everyone's favourite game show host, and here's Derek Bastard. Okay, so here's your starter for 10. What is the capital city of Namibia? Pass? Wrong answer. Ah! You fucking shot me. The answer is Windhoek. Okay, so now it's your turn, Nigel. No, it's fine, really. All a mistake. Shut up! Who in 1875 bought Friar Park in Henley-on-Thames and was a keen horticulturalist and developed spectacular public gardens there, including an alpine garden featuring a 20-foot replica of the Matterhorn? Oh, please. Come on, look, it's easy. He published an exhaustive survey of medieval gardening. It's common bloody sense. No, I'm sorry. Time's up. The answer was, of course, Sir Frank Crisp. Next. Oh, no, I'm not doing this. What do you mean? Well, if I get the answer wrong, you're going to shoot me. How do you know I'm not going to shoot you if you continue this interruption? Well, I don't. Exactly. Balls. Next. And in July, Bane is back with his infamous Bane Reads series. Episode 1, Bane Reads Blood Price by Tanya Huff.
Hello. Bane here. Nice to be back. Bane! Can I get a Bane from the audience? What? Bane! Nice. Me likey. Now tonight, I'm going to be reading my very favourite book in the whole world. Blood Price by Tanya Huff. And if you don't likey this book, I tell you, it is going to be very painful for you. Perhaps you might be wondering why you might shoot a man before pushing him out of a plane. And perhaps you might also be wondering why you might give a book as good as Blood Price to a man like Bane. Well, it's because Bane, that's me. the very best reader of books that there is. There's absolutely nothing off-putting about my voice in the slightest. Brain. Okay. Chapter 1. Ian shoved his hands deep in his pockets and scowled down the length of the empty subway platform. His hands were freezing. He was in a bitch of a bad mood, and he had no idea why he'd agreed to meet Corinne at her apartment. All things considered, neutral ground might have been a better idea. He shifted his scowl to the LED clock hanging from the ceiling. 12:17. 13 minutes to get from Ellington West to Wilson Station. $6 worth of bus ride, and then a 3-block run to Corinne's. It couldn't be done. Why would you take all your commands from a woman named Corinne? Well, as Spain, I've been taking my commands from a woman, secretly, behind the scenes, only for it all to be revealed in the last few minutes that this man that was to be Gotham's reckoning was in fact merely the puppet, or in French, puppet, of a lady wreaking vengeance upon Batman.
And finally, in August, we've got the utterly nonsensical drama Home on the Spaniel, a 475-part serial featuring the delightfully curvy and seductive Pippi Nipslipchul as Countess de Barnyard Animal and Nathan Spunkgibbon as Basil Rim Trumpet, owner of all the broth. My hat, it's hot in here. You'd think with all the dashed puffins I had killed, I could get some bloody cool air in here. You know what your trouble is, Basil, old trout? What is it, Rupert, you old thrupney bitch? Well, Basil, you herniated disc of a rubberized baboon, just because you have puffin slaughtered during evening croquet doesn't mean suddenly the weather will change. Although your reception at the manor is going to be decidedly chillier next time you pop round for artichokes. I think you might be right there, Rupert, you old spinal cord glazed in honey sticking out of the tall, silly hat of an archbishop. You might very well be right. Still, Tish and Pish, I can't stand around here all day with my elbows cut to ribbons like this. I must see if Peregrine has any soothing wound balm, and maybe even a copy of 1001 Things You Can Do with a Can Opener and the People Who Host American Pop Idol. It's simply my favourite lavatorial read. Did you get to the end of it yet, Basil, my little pony? No, so don't tell me what happens, Rupert, you young whippersnapper wrapped in lime piglets, or I'll come over there and insert Gladys, my porcelain dog, into you, and you won't like it. Not one little bit. And so on and so on and so on until everyone dies.
Hello, this is Melvin, and I officially endorse After Movie Diner. I also wanted to congratulate them on their 200th episode. Congratulations, John Cross, and everybody else involved. Bye.
And thank you ever so much for that message, Melvin. And next up, we've got an email from Charles Roxburgh, who just wrote in to say, "Hey, John, congrats on your upcoming 200th episode. Off the top of my head, I like your feedback song, Feedback, Feedback, Feedback Time, which I find myself singing sometimes. And interview-wise, the Michael Ironside interview was great. Good work." Well, thanks ever so much, Charlie. Let's see if I can find that song. Well, it's a feedback, feedback, feedback time, whether you're written on our Twitter page or our Facebook timeline. It's a feedback, feedback, feedback time. I am just digging up all sorts of gems from our past tonight, and it's making me feel nostalgic. It's making me think that I want to start putting some of this crap back into shows and start doing jingles and spoiler songs and stupidity all over again. God, what have you wrote me back into? I'm going to be editing for the rest of my life if that's the case. Anyway, I wanted to dash back to the email we had got from Adrian Malsher, who also goes by Voodoo Fuzz and wrote that incredible song about Jim's hat, because he did write in with his favourite stuff. So he said, number one, Favorite episode is episode 153, Kane Keaton, Blue Ice, and the Dream Team. A classic with both Johns, stuffed full of jokes at Kane's expense. Blue Ice is frozen piss, what would you expect? Finished with the Dream Team, a really enjoyable movie I'd forgotten all about until you covered it, which meant an immediate rewatch. Fine stuff. Number 2, I'm cheating and choosing Barbara Crampton and both of George Stover's interviews. I love all their films, and they both seemed genuinely likable people who were happy to talk in a relaxed manner about their work. Not a single whiff of pretension about those lovely guests. The highlight of my Twitter year was when Barbara Crampton liked one of my tweets. Swoon. Number 3, too many to mention. These talking about sketches, I think. I love them all. I particularly enjoyed all the earlier Flange Goblet continuity announcer, How I Want to Tune Into That Station. Listen, if I suddenly start somehow making money off this stuff, I would run an entire Flange Goblet station. Of course, I would run out of stuff. I think I totaled together all the sketches I'd written once in terms of average minutes and worked out that I probably about 8 or 9 hours worth of solid sketch material. I mean, not solid, some of it's awful, but like, meaning in one solid chunk, if you push it all together, it would be about 8 or 9 hours long. I could probably do a Flange Goblet ridiculous radio station for about 8 hours. After that, I would run out of material, and most people listening would have either switched off or hung themselves. Anyway, he goes on to say, number 4, in terms of favourite song or ditty, he says, isn't it obvious? I'm sure it must be the number 1 choice for all your fans. The sadly missed but classic What's in My Sack, the Postbag song. And then he says, keep up the good work with all that you do. 400 will be just around the corner. Everyone apparently loves the mailbag jingle. I played it at the beginning of the show, but why don't we have another listen right now, huh? Here comes the postman, I wonder what he has for me. Is there something in his big brown sack? I wonder what could it be? Well, I hope the bills it lacks and instead brings me some listener feedback, or maybe, just maybe, a big bag of crack. Oh, here comes the postman, I wonder what he has for me. Well, next as I delve into my big sack of mail is the wonderful and awesome and my brother and just tremendous local legend, podcaster behemoth in his own right, from the Corrupt Audio Network, from Hold the Mayo. He is a musician, a stand-up comedian, a podcaster, a writer, a woodworker, a dog lover, a digger, a bringer, a hugger, just a rough bastard. No, he's not really. He's the freest son of a bitch I've ever met. Yes, it's Joseph Mayo, and he writes, congratulations on reaching such a monumental milestone in the podcasting world. To say that I am both jealous of you and your accomplishment and elated for you and your success would be the understatement of the century. Week after week, I perpetually look forward to listening to not only the wonderful film reviews and diner talk, but also the wonderful comedy stylings of a really something mind. It just says really and mind. I don't know. Something issue with that message there. Sorry about that. He goes on to say, a great man once said that in the podcasting world, consistency is king, and the After Movie Diner quite literally is the beacon of consistency when it comes to the highest quality content. It's almost infuriating. I take that back. It's definitely infuriating. Your podcast is so good that it makes me furious. I hope you're happy. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud for you, and I'm looking forward to another 200 episodes. Furious J. Mayo. Well, thank you, buddy, and thank you for many, many weekends of fun and frivolity with the Mayos up in New England. Can't wait to come back up there and see you guys again. And everyone, check out Hold the Mayo with him and Marie every week because it's tremendous. That's over at corruptaudio.com. Corruptaudio.com. Let's keep these going, shall we? So, from filmmaker Craig Everett Earl, check out his film Intrusion, currently on Amazon. His subject is simply Happy 200th. Just wanted to take a second and say Happy 200th to the After Movie Diner. Keep up the amazing work. Thanks ever so much, Craig, and you too, sir. You too. And then we got one from Chris Leatherman. who says his favourite episodes are all of the Dola-related shows, the James Bond show and the Bob Hoskins double bill. He says his favourite interview is the Stover, also known as George Stover. His favourite sketch is all of them. And his favourite songs are the Cockney version of In Too Deep and Mega Force Mega Crap. You really channeled Jeff Lynne's Melancholy Perm with that one. Thanks for many hours of great entertainment. Well, thanks ever so much, Chris. And here, just for you, let's have some Cockney Collins, shall we?
All the time I was searching with nowhere to run to, it started me thinking, wondering what I could make of my life. And who'd be waiting, asking all kinds of questions to myself, but never finding any answers. Crying at the top of my voice and no one's listening. All this time I still remember everything you said. There's so much that you promised. Well, how could I ever forget? Listen, you know I love you, but I just can't take this. You know I love you, but I'm playing for kids. Although I need you, I'm not gonna make this. You know I want you, but I'm in too deep. So listen to me, oh. You must believe me. I can feel your eyes go through me, but I don't know why. I know that you're going, but I can't believe it's the way you're leaving. It's like we never knew each other at all. Well, maybe my fault, darling. I gave you too many reasons for being alone when I didn't want to. I thought you'd always be there for me, yeah. Well, I almost believed ya. All this time, I still remember everything you said. You said so much. There's so much you promised. Well, how could I ever forget your bloody lettering? You know I love you, but I just can't take this. You know I love you, but I'm playing.
Ah, the sweet, sweet sounds of a decent Cockney Collins. How I miss him so, and how I might delve back into that egomaniacal, vastly domed satchel of work that he's produced, and maybe I'll Cockney up another one of his songs soon. Thanks ever so much to D. Shaw, who on our Facebook group writes 200. Damn, I have several I like. All the interviews. And he points to the interview with Robert Davi, the interview with the Selma cast on the red carpet in New York City of 2014, the interview with Fred the Hammer Williamson, and the interview with Clint Howard. Do check out our interview section of the website. It's funny it doesn't get more traffic, because I really do think we've got like some pretty cool guys that we've had on the show, and definitely worth checking out and enjoying. So we're just about winding up. I think we've just got a couple more emails to go. Mark Burns writes, "Hello, John, and all at Radio Flange Goblet. I just want to say congratulations on reaching the milestone of 200 episodes. I first heard the promo for AMD on Profondo Cinema, what now seems like an age ago, and my first thoughts were, oh, a fellow Brit doing a movie podcast. I'll check it out. Back then, I was a relative newcomer to podcasts, but there was something in your voice that made me want to give your show a listen. I think I caught you on your third podcast, but quickly went back and listened to the first two. Now here we are at 200 episodes. I cannot name one single episode as a highlight, as there have been so many, and I honestly look forward to listening to a new AMD show every time. I think the recent-ish edition of your walkabout clips with Jim Wallace have added something extra to the shows, and I do enjoy them. The amount of effort you put into the AMD definitely shows, and your creativity makes the AMD stand out in a sea of podcasts. The music, the comedy skits, and your enthusiasm make the AMD stand head and shoulders above a lot of other podcasts out there. I'm smiling now thinking back how giddy I would get hearing you read out my comments on the show, not thinking we would actually get to meet. My personal highlight was getting to spend an evening with yourself and Kim in Brooklyn at the beginning of the year. Thank you both. May the AMD continue to flourish. Thank you, and once again, congratulations Mark Burns. And I tell you what, if you're ever in a foxhole and you need someone on your side, you need someone like Mark Burns. The man has your back, I'm telling you right there. There are many, many wonderful people that I've met doing the podcast and through the podcast and through connections I made doing the podcast. And Mark Burns is definitely up there near the top. What a great guy. What a tremendous man. Of course, his lovely lady Christy, big shout out to her as well. A real pleasure to meet them and to now count them as close personal friends. Always a pleasure. It's what podcasting's actually about. People always think, oh, is it about the comedy or the music or the film discussion or blah, 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 blah. It's not about that. It's about the connections you make and the people you meet because of it and the places you go because of it. That has been, honestly, the greatest gift that this show keeps giving year in, year out with all the people that I've met and all the people, as you can hear on this show, who have written in or phoned in or done something. It's incredible. I know that there were some people I didn't get to. I know that Mo Porn, my dear, dear, wonderful brother from another mother, Mo Porn, and I were going to do a section on the show. We just didn't get round to it. These kind of shows, as you can tell, as we hit the 2-hour 30 mark, are massive and unwieldy and cumbersome at best. So to get round to everyone is difficult. But thanks everyone who wrote in. Thanks everyone who thought about writing in and then didn't. Thanks everyone who continues to listen. Thanks everyone who comments on the Facebook page. Thanks anyone who I've forgotten, but I know wrote to me and it has touched me deeply and it's fantastic and wonderful. I do hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a trip down memory lane. Little bit of the first Horrortober episode. There's an interview, there's music, there's comedy. This show, really, this 200th episode show has just about a little bit of everything, and I've tried to hit on stuff that everyone likes. I'm going to leave you all now with the wonderful song that Voodoo Fuzz composed for the show, and quite honestly, is one of my favorite songs of all time. I can always hum it. It gets in my brain. And it's all about the After Movie Diner. What a better way to end the show I cannot think of. So here we go with Voodoo Fuzz's After Movie Diner song. You can hear my voices going, after all this talking, and I need to get to sleep. Anyway, thanks for listening. Here's to 200 more. All the good stuff. Thanks to everyone who wrote in. Blah, 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 blah. Love you all. Good night.
Well, back in 2011, I find a movie going to see. A film by Jim Jarmusch starring Iggy Pop and me. But when the show was over, I'd nowhere to go, so I'd end up in a bar, sipping my bourbon and feeling low. One night, this wild-looking guy called Frank came over and asked me why I looked so sad as I drank. I told him about my post-movie blues, and then I saw the light in his glass eyes. He told me to go to the After Movie Diner. I'm surprised you don't know there's no place finer. Come on now, let's go. Well, Mr. John Cresswell, he's a man with a beard and a man with a plan. Yeah, yes. With Jim and John and Matt and Mark, tune in to French Couplet to start. Yes, and reviews, opinions, interviews, comedy and news, Don Doler and his films and George Stover at the After Movie Diner. Now it's 5 years old. There's nowhere finer. That's the place to go. Oh, the After Movie Diner. It's where I go. Oh, that After Movie Diner. It's one hell of a show. I just killed that rattlesnake with skillet pants.